Chapter 685. Longao, you're arrogant. Today, I'll let you know the price of arrogance. Long Maoan was truly enraged. He couldn't wait to tear Longao into pieces. As the head of the Long family, he had to bear all the responsibility for this. If he didn't get rid of this kid, he wouldn't have the face to continue being the head of the Long family. But at this moment, Long Chen suddenly stood up and said uncomfortably, "Ancestor, uncle, I want to ask you a question." "Ask." "Ancestor, Longao just told me that you told him to write off the grudge between you two. Is that right?" "That's right." Since things had come to this point, Long Yang didn't want to hide it anymore. No matter who was right or wrong, the person in front of him had to die. Long Chun looked very disappointed and said helplessly, "Ancestor, our Long family is one of the 4 major forces of the spirit domain of the 9 states. Other than our strength, what's more important is our reputation." How could Long Yang not know what Long Chun wanted to say? His face darkened. If it wasn't for Long Chin's talent and strength, Long Yang believed that at this moment, Long Yang would have killed him. No matter what, Long Chun had not only awakened his bloodline, but he was also a dragon martial artist. With the combination of the two, as long as Long Chen had time to develop, with Long Chen's talent, he would soar into the sky one day. Thinking of this, Long Yang wasn't angry at all. Instead, he tried to persuade him. "Chener, you've finished your business. You can leave." Could he leave? Long Chen knew very well that once he left, the ancestor and uncle would definitely attack Longao. Although he already knew that Longao was a powerful array master, no matter what, the ancestor's strength was there. Once the battle started, Longao would have a high chance of being killed. Although he didn't like the way the Long family did things, he was still a member of the Long family. In other words, whether it was the Long family or Longao, he didn't want to see anything happen. Because of this, Long Chun naturally wouldn't choose to leave. "Grandfather, please let Longao go." "Impossible." The more Long Chun acted like this, the more Long Yang wanted to kill. "Long Chun, you go first." "You." "I'm fine." As a friend, Longao didn't want to make things difficult for Long Chun. No matter what, if Long Chun was here, even Long Yang wouldn't be able to do anything. Longao knew very well that Long Chun wouldn't leave. But at this moment, Long Yang suddenly attacked. He didn't give Long Chun the slightest chance. He had a Saint Emperor take Long Chun away. "Longao, do you really think you're invincible?" Although Long Yang was very surprised by Longao's strength, he was still a mere heavenly saint. Even if he had the strength to kill a holy king, a heavenly saint was still a heavenly saint. Long Yang was full of confidence. As long as it was not a Supreme Tao warrior, he had no fear. Supreme Tao martial artist. Was Longao a Supreme Tao martial artist? AI. Letting out a heavy sigh, Longao's face was filled with disdain, because he had discovered a problem. No matter how much he said to such a shameless person and shameless family, it was like playing the lute to a cow. "Kill." Just as Long Yang finished speaking, 2 figures suddenly shot out from behind him. This time, Long Yang had brought 2 holy emperors with him to end the battle quickly. Unless there was no other choice, Long Yang would definitely not personally attack. Again, he was still the Long clan's old ancestor. If he casually attacked, especially against a mere heavenly saint, it wouldn't be good if word got out. The Long clan had many experts. Holy kings, holy venerables, and holy emperors were everywhere. There was no need for him to attack. Not daring to be careless, Longao prepared to fight back, but he was already sent flying by the 2 holy emperors. His body was like a kite with a broken string, violently flying backwards. If it weren't for the desolate divine body, just this alone would have been enough to kill Longao. Because of this, both Long Yang and Long Maoan were extremely shocked when they saw that the 2 holy emperors couldn't take care of Longao. They increasingly felt that Longao wasn't simple. "Kill." "Yes, old ancestor." The 2 holy emperors felt ashamed that they didn't manage to kill Yi Shiwen in one strike. The difference between a heavenly saint and a holy emperor was too big. If they couldn't take care of Yi Shiwen, it would be a huge loss of face. Just like this, the 2 holy emperors attacked again. One strike after another, each strike was vicious. They didn't give Longao any chance at all. In just a few minutes, Longao had already been hit several times. Longao knew that if this continued, he would definitely die in less than 30 strikes. After all, the difference in cultivation level couldn't be made up for by other things. Longyang, I'll definitely pay you back double for what you did today. Wanna leave? Just as he finished speaking, a scene that shocked everyone appeared. Longao, who had been there just a moment ago, suddenly disappeared into thin air. Nobody knew what had happened to Longao. What was going on? In the next second, Longao appeared outside the restaurant. Longao had used spatial teleportation 3 times in a row. Even if Longyang attacked personally, he might not be able to catch up with Longao. Spatial teleportation was also Longao's biggest trump card. Kill. Longyang was very shocked. He didn't know how Longao did it. Longyang asked himself in his heart, if it was him, would he be able to do it? Without a doubt, he was 100% sure that he couldn't do it. Not to mention him, even a supreme Dao warrior wouldn't be able to do it. The 2 holy emperors stood there in a daze. Hearing Longyang's roar, they shuddered. They didn't dare to be careless and immediately rushed out of the restaurant. But in the end, as soon as the 2 of them came out, everyone, including Longyang and the others, looked at Longao, who had already disappeared. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what had happened, because no one could figure out how Longao did it. How could he disappear into thin air? Old ancestor, Longao. Long Maoan swallowed his saliva. He didn't know how to describe Longao, because he had never seen or heard of such a thing before. Not to mention Long Maoan, even Longyang didn't know how Longao did it. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Longao, Longao. Longyang's lips slowly curled into a cold smile, because he realized that Longao had a lot of secrets. If he could catch this person and get his secrets, it would be beneficial for him and his family. Thinking of this, Longyang said, send out a kill order. No matter what, kill this person and bring back his corpse. Chapter 686. Longao's strength had completely shocked everyone in the Long family, especially Longao's sudden disappearance. It was unheard of. The Long family issued a kill order. In an instant, the entire spirit region of the 9 states began to change. The Nether Mansion, Ethereal Palace, and Imperial City turned a blind eye to the grudge between the Long family and Longao. They looked as though they were watching a good show. The 3 families almost unanimously recognized the fact that no one could stop Longao's rise. Not to mention one family, even if the 4 families worked together, they wouldn't be able to stop him. Moreover, the other 3 families were naturally willing to watch Longao and Imperial City fight each other. It would be best if both sides suffered heavy losses. At that time, the 3 families would be able to reap the benefits. Normally, the Long family wouldn't be so reckless and give the other 3 families a chance to take advantage of the situation. However, things had already developed to this stage. The Long family knew that if they couldn't deal with Longao, their status and reputation would be greatly reduced. However, Longyang had personally taken action this time. This meant that the entire Long family had no way out. It could be said that the Long family had turned out in full force this time. All the experts were searching for Longao's whereabouts. In the Imperial City, the strongest experts of the 4 major forces, the only 4 titled Great Emperors, Wei Lin Great Emperor, Shan He Great Emperor, Netherworld Great Emperor, and Longyang Great Emperor, sat together. Longyang, we can't fulfill your request. How could the 3 titled Great Emperors not know what Longyang meant? The 3 of them despised Longyang in their hearts. Things had already developed to this stage. If the 3 families were to get involved, they would be asking for trouble. The 3 of them weren't fools. That was why Longyang's expression was very ugly. After thinking for a while, he said, if the 3 of you are willing to help, I can promise you that if you can successfully kill Longao, each of you will get a drop of Divine Dragon Blood Essence. How about it? Divine Dragon Blood Essence? Hearing these words, the 3 great emperors' expressions changed at the same time. The 3 of them knew very well what the Divine Dragon Blood Essence represented. Without a doubt, the 3 of them had already reached the titled Great Emperor level. If they could obtain the Divine Dragon Blood Essence, it would be indescribably beneficial to their cultivation. On one side was Longao, and on the other was the divine dragon blood essence. How should he choose? For a moment, the three of them fell into deep thought. Longyang didn't urge them because he had full confidence that it would be very difficult for the three people in front of him to resist the temptation of the divine dragon's blood essence. Not to mention the three of them, even a true supreme Tao warrior might not be able to resist such a temptation. He was very reluctant in his heart because he had kept the 3 drops of divine dragon blood essence for many years. He had originally planned to keep them for himself, but in order to deal with Longao, he had no choice but to take out the 3 drops of divine dragon blood essence. However, the result almost made Longyang go berserk. "Brother Long, I'm sorry, but we still can't agree." "Why is that?" Longyang couldn't understand whether the 3 of them had lost their minds or not. After all, no one could resist the temptation of the conditions that he had just proposed. Moreover, if the 4 major forces joined hands, killing Longao wouldn't be a difficult thing. "I'm sorry, this has always been between you and Longao. It's not convenient for us to intervene." Longyang shrugged helplessly. Since things had come to this point, Longyang didn't continue to stay. He got up and left quickly with a cold snort. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. This time, Longyang didn't leave quickly. "I'm afraid this matter is going to be troublesome." So what if he doesn't leave quickly? Do you think we're fools? Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Longao is no longer the same as before. Moreover, Longao and the Long family have already reached a situation where either you die or I die. Why should we intervene? It's simply asking for trouble. Brother Wei is right. In any case, Longao is too unpredictable. We can't let him go no matter what. Netherworld Great Emperor's words were agreed by the other 2. Although the 3 of them looked very harmonious on the surface, they each had their own ulterior motives. If they could kill each other, they believed that none of them would be soft-hearted. Longao still hadn't left the 9-state spirit domain. It could be said that he turned a blind eye to the Long family's pursuit order. The 9-state spirit domain didn't have the power of the Dragon Sect. Sin City was his headquarters, but Longao had taken away thousands of divine Tao inheritances from the grave of the gods. Longao was very clear that the power behind the grave of the gods was very terrifying. If he went back, wouldn't he be asking for trouble? Sin City, Long family, Longao didn't care about anything. The reason was very simple. His parents, Long Yi and Mu Lin, were still missing. Even the old ancestor who had reached the heavenly god realm had also disappeared. From the beginning to the end, Longao didn't know what had happened and who was behind it. He didn't know where to start. At the peak of a mountain, Longao stood quietly, looking at the endless void in the distance. His face was filled with worry. The other party was too strong. Longao couldn't imagine. If the other party was so strong, it wouldn't be difficult for them to destroy the Dragon Sect. But they didn't do that. They only took his parents and the old ancestor. What did they mean by that? Just like that, Longao stood at the peak of the mountain for an entire night. 7 days later, Longao suddenly received news that his parents had returned to the Dragon Sect. Surprised, Longao didn't stay any longer. He rushed to the Dragon Sect as fast as he could. On the way, he met with the Long family's attacks and killed them all. After a few attacks, the Long family suffered heavy losses. Long Maoan and Long Yang were extremely angry, but they didn't dare to attack the Dragon Sect rashly. Longao was defeated, but the other 3 major forces were overjoyed because the 4 major forces had been fighting openly and secretly for countless years. Everyone wanted to kill each other and thus dominate the entire spirit domain of the 9 regions. Because of this, the Nether Mansion, the Imperial City, and the Ethereal Palace continued to sit and watch. They were waiting for the Long family to anger the Dragon Sect. When that time came, there would be a good show. In the end, what made the 3 forces feel helpless was that the Long family actually endured it this time. It seemed that they wouldn't be able to see a situation where both sides suffered heavy losses. But this time, Longao's counterattack made the 4 forces see Longao in a new light. He created the Long family alone. Not only did he kill 2 Saint Kings, but he also left under the nose of Longyang, a titled Great Emperor. What did this mean? Not only that, in the end, the Long family was even afraid of Longao and did not dare to kill him. Just this point alone, Longao already had the upper hand, and the Long family could be considered to be at a disadvantage. If this continued, the Long family would be unlucky sooner or later. How could the Long family not know about this? How could Longyang not know? P.S. 3 chapters a day. The outbreak will officially start on the 15th and will continue until the end of the month. Chapter 687. The Spirit Region of the 9 States. In the main hall of the Long clan. At this moment, Long Yang's expression was ugly to the extreme. The Long clan had issued a kill order, but they had failed to kill Longao in the end. Although no one mocked them to their face, Long Yang knew very well that the Long clan had lost all face. All of this was because of one person, and that was Longao. Elder, according to reliable sources, Longao has successfully returned to the Dragon Sect. What should we do now? Long Maoan and Long Yin asked carefully, because all of this had exceeded the Long clan's knowledge. No one could have imagined that Longao was so powerful. He looked like a heavenly saint, but in reality, he could kill a sacred king. Even a sacred emperor could not kill him. With this person's talent and cultivation speed, if he was not eliminated, there would be endless trouble in the future. Long Yang knew this, and so did Long Maoan and Long Yin. Longao, there are too many variables. Just as you said, this person must die. Long Maoan and Long Yin still did not speak, because they did not know what to say at this point. Maoan, if we attack the Dragon Sect with all our strength, what are our chances of winning? Elder, forgive me for being blunt. Long Maoan thought for a moment and said, Long Ao scared away Wei Ling and Shun He. The first time, Long Ao turned into a demon, and the reason is unknown. The second time, if I'm not wrong, he should have borrowed the power of the Dragon Sect. What do you mean? Elder, I don't believe that Long Ao could rise so quickly just because of luck. I've already asked around about Long Ao's past. Next, Long Maoan told him about Long Ao's matter in detail. After listening, Long Yang nodded and said, if that's the case, it seems that this person must have gotten some kind of opportunity to rise so quickly. I understand what you mean. This opportunity is in the Dragon Sect. That's right. So what if it was in the Dragon Sect? Everyone had already guessed that Long Ao's rise was definitely not due to luck and the so-called hard work. They believed that the biggest reason was because of an opportunity. They clearly knew that the opportunity was in the Dragon Sect, but how many people dared to go there? Back then, Emperor Shun He had been scared off by Long Ao. Although Emperor Shun He hadn't said much, anyone who understood what had happened would be able to guess. Because of this, the Dragon Sect was becoming more and more mysterious. No one knew what kind of existence existed within the Dragon Sect. Ancestor, let's observe first. We can't act rashly. If there are any losses, only the 3 clans will benefit. Long Yang was well aware of this. 9 states, Dragon Sect. Long Ao had just returned to the Dragon Sect when he received the news that his parents had returned safely. Overjoyed, he immediately went to find them. After confirming that they were safe, he let out a long sigh of relief. Before Long Ao could ask what was going on, his heart skipped a beat. After bidding farewell to his parents, Long Ao immediately entered the back of the mountain. Enveloped by a white light, he disappeared without a trace. Inside the cave, looking at the old ancestor in front of him, Long Ao asked impatiently, Old ancestor, what exactly happened? Where did you and my parents go? Although the old ancestor and his parents had returned safely, Long Ao didn't know why, but he had a feeling that this matter wasn't as simple as it seemed. Otherwise, the old ancestor wouldn't have looked so serious. Ao, it was very dangerous this time. Sit down, I'll tell you slowly. Nodding his head, Long Ao found a place to sit down. Then, Long Batian recounted everything that had happened in the past few days without leaving out anything. After listening, Long Ao clenched his fists tightly. His face was filled with killing intent. One could imagine how terrifying the anger in Long Ao's heart was. Old ancestor, since the Long family wants to deal with me, why don't they do it openly? With the Long family's strength, they could easily destroy the Dragon Sect. Why do they have to do this? According to what the old ancestor said, Longao finally knew who was the one who did it this time. Long family. Previously, Longao had guessed that this might be the Long family's doing. But after thinking about it, Longao denied his guess. The reason was simple. The Long family was too strong. As one of the strongest forces in the world, the dragon sect couldn't possibly go against the Long family. In other words, based on the strength of the Long family and the dragon sect, the Long family could destroy the dragon sect in a matter of minutes. Because of this, Longao never thought that the Long family would do such a thing. Aoer, you're oversimplifying things. After thinking about it, Long Batian said, your rise has exceeded the Long family's understanding. If it were an ordinary person, the Long family would kill them. But you're different. Longao didn't speak. He sat there quietly and listened, because there were some things that he couldn't figure out, but the old ancestor knew. Your talent and growth speed are obvious. Plus, you've already rebuilt the dragon sect. The Long family isn't stupid. They can't bear to kill you, but if they don't kill you, they're afraid that you'll betray them in the future. So the Long family wants to use my parents to threaten me? Long Batian nodded and continued. As long as they take your parents away, you can grow as you wish. When the time comes, you'll have to listen to the Long family. So that was it. In addition to anger, Longao was more solemn. Because the other party wasn't an ordinary force, and it wasn't an existence that the four major forces could contend with. The Long family. Even if all the forces in the 9 states were combined, they wouldn't be a match for the Long family. At this moment, the Long family had their eyes on him. It seemed that he was in trouble, big trouble. Aoer, this time the Long family thinks highly of you. That's why they sent 2 supreme Tao warriors. Fortunately, I didn't enter the cycle of reincarnation. Otherwise, the Long family would have succeeded this time. Thank you, old ancestor. Longao didn't dare to imagine. If his parents were really taken away by the Long family, wouldn't he become very passive? The consequences would be unimaginable. Just as the old ancestor thought, if his parents were controlled by the Long family, no matter what he did, he wouldn't be able to escape from the Long family's palm. Just thinking about it made him feel scared. Waving his hand, Long Batian sighed deeply and said, Long family's 2 supreme Tao warriors, I didn't kill them. Again, before your strength reaches a certain level, you can't provoke the Long family. Otherwise, once the Long family wants to kill you, you'll be in big trouble. Old ancestor, I really want to know, what level have I reached to be able to contend with the Long family? Longao wanted to know about this point, because according to the old ancestor's strength, he couldn't contend with the Long family. One could imagine how terrifying the Long family was. Chapter 688. If you can reach the height of Long Tian, I believe that you will be the strongest besides the marvelous mathematician in Tian Dao, Puchi. Longao naturally knew who the Long Tian that the old ancestor spoke of was. That was the old ancestor of the Long clan. What a joke. If he could reach the height of Long Tian, not to mention himself, the Long family would not dare to trouble him. It was useless to ask. Ancestor, then what should I do now? Wait and see. The Long family did not make it clear. It seems that they still don't want to deal with you, so you can just pretend that this matter did not happen. As if thinking of something, Longao suddenly said, Ancestor, you dealt with 2 supreme Tao warriors this time. Isn't that telling the Long family that you are still alive? Thinking of this, Longao's heart thumped. Longao knew clearly about the grudges between the ancestor and the Long family. According to the ancestor, the reason why he fell was all because of the Long family. If the Long family knew that the ancestor was not dead at all, it was easy to imagine what would happen. Long Batian smiled. Aoer, don't worry. It's just 2 little supreme Tao warriors. I don't have to show up. I see. Although Longao was relieved that his parents returned safely, he became more dignified. Long family. How should he deal with the Long family? Aoer, you can put it down. Long family will not deal with you in a short time. As far as I know, the Dragon Clan is about to face a great tribulation once in 10 years. According to the past practice, this time will last as long as a year. Great tribulation? Was it the Tian Dao? No matter what, Long family could not deal with him in a short time. It was always a good thing. At least he had enough time to prepare. Aoer, did you gain anything from your trip to the nine-state spirit domain? Not knowing what the ancestor was referring to, Long Ao roughly told him about his trip to the nine-state spirit domain and the battle with the Long family. Aoer, you have to speed up. Understood. After chatting with Long Ao for a while, Long Ao left the cave. As soon as he returned, Long Ao was called by Long Haosher. He went straight to the point and asked, Aoer, let me ask you, does this matter have anything to do with the Long family? The older, the wiser. Long Ao did not continue to hide the truth from his grandfather. He told his grandfather everything that the old ancestor had said just now without changing a word. Sure enough, it seems that the Long family can't bear it anymore. Aoer, the reason why the Long family is like this is all because of you. So from now on, you have to be extra careful. Long Ao was well aware of his grandfather's worries. Long Ao felt warmth in his heart because he knew that no matter where he went, no matter what time it was, only family would never change. As for everything else, it was all nonsense. Grandpa, I know. Your mother was taken away this time and seemed to be in shock. Go and accompany her. Nodding his head, Long Ao stayed by Mu Lin's side for the next few days. Gradually, Mu Lin began to regain her senses. This time, Long Ao finally understood a truth, and that was no matter how fast he and the dragon sect developed, in front of the Long clan, he and the sect were still nothing. So everything still depended on strength. According to the old ancestor, the Long family would not have the energy to deal with him for at least a year. He could make use of this time to develop the strength of the dragon sect, divine Dao inheritance. According to Long Ao's plan, he would first train the 300 people in the family to become divine Dao martial artists. Then, he would slowly select people to receive the divine Dao inheritance. But now, time was not waiting for him. So, Long Ao decided to speed up the inheritance process and carry out more than 1,000 divine Dao inheritances at the same time. There were advantages and disadvantages to speeding up the process. The biggest disadvantage was that he did not know who would defend the dragon sect to the death. After all, a divine Dao inheritance was not a joke. So, Long Ao was clear that this matter must be strictly monitored. There must not be the slightest mistake. Finding Dugu Bai, Long Patian, and the rest, Long Ao told them the general idea. After hearing this, everyone was endlessly shocked. Because everyone was very clear on what a divine Dao inheritance represented, let alone 700 divine Dao inheritances. If everyone received a divine Dao inheritance, wouldn't it mean that the dragon sect would have more than 1,000 divine Dao martial artists in the future? What kind of concept was that? Just thinking about it made them excited. All of you, remember, no matter who it is, you must be strictly monitored. I don't need to say more about what a divine Dao inheritance means. I believe you all know it in your heart. Since that's the case, from now on, all of you will work harder. I want to gather enough people in the shortest time possible. At this time, Ghost King Aotion suddenly stood up and said, Master, finding people is not a problem, but the problem now is, once all of us receive the inheritance, what will happen to the dragon sect? Ghost King's meaning was actually very simple. Those who receive the divine Dao inheritance would definitely be the dragon sect's most outstanding disciples. 700 people were practically the foundation of the dragon sect. Once all of them chose to go into seclusion, how would the dragon sect protect itself? Nodding, Long Ao indeed did not think about this problem. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed a problem. That's the only way. From now on, the dragon sect will immediately lock down and transfer all of the divine Dao inheritances underground. Long Ao was very clear that once the divine Dao inheritances were accepted, they would be the key targets of the dragon sect's protection. Nothing must happen to them, because if there was a war with the Long family in the future, this would be the foundation. Therefore, he could only choose to transfer these people, and the best way was to completely lock down the news. This way, not to mention the Long family, even the disciples of the dragon sect might not know about it. Comparatively speaking, the divine Dao inheritances would be very safe. Master, this method is feasible, but there is still a problem. The grudge between us and the four major forces will have to be resolved sooner or later. If we transfer and the four major forces attack us, how will we deal with it? This was a very realistic problem. After all, the strength of the four major forces was there. Even if the four major forces could not compete with the Long family, they could not be underestimated. Moreover, according to the grudge between the two sides, everyone could be sure that the four major forces would come sooner or later. Therefore, the question raised by Ghost King hit the nail on the head. The four major forces, of course, Longao would not forget the four major forces. Especially this time, he had completely fallen out with the Long family. Longao was completely sure that the Long family would not let this matter rest. Just as Ghost King said, if the four major forces came, how could he resist? Formations. Suddenly, Longao thought of the formation. It seemed that only the formation could help him temporarily resist the four major forces. As long as he waited for 3 to 5 years, he would be able to destroy the four major forces in a matter of minutes. Chapter 689. Regarding formations, the current Longao had already reached a very high level of attainment. Longao was very clear in his heart that it was not a simple matter to rely on the strength of the sect to withstand all kinds of dangers. Therefore, formations were the only way and the best way. Array masters were divided into Level 1 array masters, Level 2 array masters, Level 3 array masters, Level 4 array masters, Level 5 array masters, Level 6 array masters, Level 8 array masters, and Level 9 array masters. Above Level 9 formation masters were King Formation Masters, Emperor Formation Masters, Supreme Formation Masters, Emperor Formation Masters, and God Formation Masters. Longao had officially become a Supreme Formation Master. It was also because of this that Longao was confident that he could start to set up higher-level formations. According to all the formations left by his master, Longao thought about it and decided to overturn all the previous formations and set up 10 new formations that were linked together. The 10 formations were the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Slaughtering Formation, 10,000 Ghosts Soul Devouring Formation, Everlasting Chaos Formation, Nirvana Void Lifeless Formation, 3 Lives 3 Death Soul Dispersing Formation, Hidden Dragon Divine Annihilation Formation, 6 Wheels Wraith Formation, Boundless Tornado Illusion Formation, 12 Divine Wraith Formation, and 3 Lives 3 Death Soul Dispersing Formation. Next, Longao started to set up the 10 formations with all his might. It was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to set them up. At this moment, apart from setting up the formations, Longao also had to fully comprehend the 5 elements Heaven Devouring Art and Divine Divination Tao. 5 elements Heaven Devouring Art. Divine Divination Tao. Longao knew very well that apart from cultivating his own body, the other 2 most important points were to comprehend the Divine Divination Tao and cultivate the 5 elements Heaven Devouring Art. Back Mountain. Longao's body suddenly disappeared. This time, for some unknown reason, Longao's teleportation distance had doubled and it was even faster. It was as if it happened in the blink of an eye. Longao's body appeared again. Unable to conceal the pleasant surprise on his face, Longao was extremely excited in his heart, because he never thought that the combination of spatial teleportation and earth elemental art would be so powerful. Longao was very clear in his heart that if he were to cultivate the earth elemental arts under normal circumstances, it would be very, very difficult to comprehend. It could even be said to be extremely difficult. However, after a period of continuous exploration, Longao finally discovered a problem. That was the fusion of spatial teleportation and earth elemental art. In other words, as long as a certain part of the body came into contact with earth elemental power, the speed and direction of spatial teleportation would increase. This was something that Longao had never expected. Since the earth elemental art could fuse with spatial teleportation, then what about the metal elemental art? Would elemental art, water elemental art, and fire elemental art? Although Longao had not truly entered the 5 elements heaven swallowing mantra, he was able to double the power of his teleportation with the help of the 5 elements heaven swallowing mantra. This could be considered a small gain. The 5 elements heaven swallowing mantra was indeed the most powerful cultivation technique and martial skill in the world. Just comprehending the surface of it was not an easy task. Longao continued to cultivate the earth elemental art, quietly sensing the surrounding earth elemental power. Longao, get out here for this, young miss. Tongling, Er's voice instantly spread throughout the entire dragon sect. Those who heard her voice were all shocked. Before they could react, a beautiful figure had already entered the dragon sect. Longao appeared. Looking at Tongling in front of him, Longao was not surprised at all. Because before this, Longao had already told him that if there were no accidents, Tongling would kill her way to his door. Just as expected, what one feared would happen. Although Longhao's cultivation had broken through to the Great Emperor realm, he was still a Crimson Grade Great Emperor. However, he was still a genuine titled Great Emperor. The difference between the two of them was huge. Lady Tong, Ao is not back yet. Please calm down. Humph. Lying to me? Tongling snorted coldly. Previously, when she was shaken off by Longao, Tongling got angrier the more she thought about it. Other than unwillingness, she was even more furious, because she had never thought that she would be played by Longao. Lady Tong, I did not lie to you. Ao has not returned since he left. If you have something to discuss with Ao, why don't you tell me first? When Ao returns, I will inform him. How about it? Longao was obviously in the dragon sect, but Longao was lying through his teeth. If this matter was known by the rest of the dragon sect, what would they think? However, Longao really did not have any way to deal with Tongling. As the saying went, it was better to avoid trouble. Tongling, of course, did not believe him. She suppressed the anger in her heart and said coldly, I have already asked around. Longao has already returned to the dragon sect. Longao, I advise you to mind your own business. You are not qualified in front of me. Indeed, he was not qualified. If an ordinary person said that, they would have died long ago. However, Tongling was different. As a titled Great Emperor, Tongling was indeed there. Great Emperors were divided into 11 ranks. From low to high, they were divided into Crimson Great Emperor, Orange Great Emperor, Yellow Great Emperor, Green Great Emperor, Cyan Great Emperor, Blue Great Emperor, Purple Great Emperor, and lastly, titled Great Emperor. The difference between each rank of Great Emperor was huge, not to mention the difference between Crimson Great Emperor and titled Great Emperor. Looking at the young lady in front of him, Longhao's face was extremely ugly. Because the old ancestor would not appear under normal circumstances, only the Fire Qilin could go against Tongling in the entire dragon sect. Longao, I will ask you one last time. Where is Longao? Just when Longao didn't know what to do, Longao suddenly appeared. He looked at Tongling and said, Why are you looking for me? As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. After being played by the other party once, Tongling was simply depressed to the extreme, and also extremely angry to the extreme. However, before he could make a move, Longao continued, I have something to talk to you about. Come with me. Tongling was confused, but she didn't want to kill Longao. She nodded and said coldly, If you don't give me a reasonable explanation this time, I will annihilate your dragon sect. Ao, grandfather, I'm fine. Longao smiled and left with Longao. Dragon sect, Back Mountain. Longao, I want to hear your explanation now. Humph, you said that you would bring me along. Why did you ditch me? I didn't explain. There is only one reason. What I was going to do was very dangerous. I couldn't bring you along. You are Yu Yin's junior sister after all. No matter what, I can't let anything happen to you. What do you think? So, you are doing this for my own good? Tongling obviously wouldn't believe it. However, things had already come to this point. She knew clearly that she couldn't kill the other party, so she could only do this. Smiling, Tongling found a clean rock and sat down. Chapter 690. Longao, the grudges between us can be written off, but you have to promise me one thing. What is it? Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he wouldn't agree immediately. What a joke. If Tonglinger wanted him to die, would he really commit suicide? Coward, don't worry. What I want you to do is very simple. Longao didn't say anything. He just stood there quietly. Longao, I've heard about you from senior sister. I really want to know. After 10 years of perseverance, what kind of opportunity did you encounter that allowed you to rise up in just a few months? As long as you tell me, we'll write off our grudges. How about it? Impossible. Without even thinking, Longao directly refused. Because Longao couldn't tell anyone about the dragon seal. Not to mention Tonglinger, even his parents, grandfather, Yuan, and Aoshua had never told anyone about it. The dragon seal was Longao's biggest secret. It was also because of the dragon seal that Longao rose up in the face of adversity. Otherwise, the current Longao would probably still be a trash, suffering humiliation and ridicule every day. Without waiting for Tonglinger to continue speaking, Longao already impatiently said, "You must remember, I see that you are Yuan's junior sister, that's why I'm like this. Otherwise, you won't have the chance to stand here. You don't think that I'm afraid of you. You don't need to know about my matters. If there's nothing else, please leave." As soon as he said it, Longao regretted it. No matter what, Tonglinger was still Yuan's junior sister. He felt a little sorry for Yuan. However, Tonglinger wasn't as angry as he imagined. She suddenly smiled and stuck out her tongue. "If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Why are you throwing a tantrum? If you're like this, I'll go back and tell senior sister that she'll ignore you from now on." Looking at the girl in front of him, Longao was completely speechless. It was true that a woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. No matter what, you would never be able to see through a woman's heart. Longao had always thought that Tonglinger was definitely looking for trouble this time, but now it seemed that Tonglinger was completely fine. What was going on? Shrugging helplessly, Longao did not ask about Yuan. He knew that even if he asked, she might not tell him. Otherwise, she would not have waited until now. "Tonglinger, I want to ask you something now. I hope you can answer me honestly. It's best that you don't ask about senior sister. Master has already instructed me that no matter what happens, I cannot tell you anything about senior sister. I'm sorry. It's not about Yuan. That's good. You can ask now." After thinking for a while, Longao said, "The Tiemu continent is divided into the 9-continent spirit domain and the ordinary spirit domain. The 9-continent spirit domain is dominated by the Eastern Imperial City, the Long family in the west, the Nether Underworld Palace in the south, and the Misty Palace in the north. However, as everyone knows, these 4 powers are not the strongest existences. I want to ask, Long family, where are the Heaven and Earth sect and Wanshou sect?" Longao had always been curious about this question. "You really want to know?" Nodding. "I can tell you, but the main thing is that you're not strong enough. Even if you know, it's useless. It won't be too late to tell you after you break through to the Emperor realm." Fuck. Longao cursed fiercely in his heart. He had the impulse to go up and kick the other party away. He glared fiercely and said, "Since that's the case, I still have important things to do. Please go ahead." Asking her to leave. Longao didn't have the slightest bit of compassion for such a beautiful woman. He didn't give Tonglinger any chance to speak. Longao's battle god left. Looking at his disappearing figure, Tonglinger stomped her foot and said angrily, "Longao, just you wait. One day, I'll make you obedient to me." Longao asked Longpatian to keep an eye on Tonglinger. He knew that although Tonglinger was a titled Great Emperor, she didn't have any ill intentions towards him. Therefore, as long as Tonglinger didn't do anything too outrageous, it was fine for her to stay in the sect. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Tonglinger really didn't leave the dragon sect. She stayed in the sect freely. No matter what Longao was doing, she would find trouble with him every day. In a short span of 3 days, Longao was depressed to the extreme. Because of Tonglinger finding trouble, he was unable to calm down and cultivate. The situation was urgent. Longao knew that he didn't have much time left. He had to set up the 10 major formations as soon as possible and comprehend the 5 elements heaven-devouring technique. However, could he do it now? With Tonglinger's strength, unless the old ancestor made a move, even the fire Qilin wouldn't be able to chase her away. "Master, someone wants to join the sect? Do you know who it is?" Before Longao could ask, Yi Wushuang had already appeared. His expression was a little ugly as he said coldly, Longao, let's be frank. My 100 drops of dragon blood must have been taken by you. Seeing that we're friends, as long as you hand over the 100 drops of dragon blood, I won't settle this score with you. How about it? 100 drops of dragon blood? How was he going to hand it over? He sneered in his heart. Ever since he obtained the 100 drops of dragon blood, Long Ao had asked Long Chong to integrate them. According to Long Fu, as long as Long Chong could successfully integrate the 100 drops of dragon blood, he would become an ancient divine dragon. He could even surpass the ancient divine dragon. Since that was the case, how could he hand it over? Of course, Long Ao would not admit it. Brother Yi, I have already said that the 100 drops of dragon's blood were indeed with you when you left. Furthermore, who in our dragon sect would be able to secretly take away 100 drops of dragon's blood from you? I am certain that I am unable to do so. Hearing that, Yi Wushuang's expression turned even more terrible. In reality, Yi Wushuang did not believe that Long Ao and the dragon sect could take the dragon blood from him without anyone noticing. However, everything pointed to Long Ao. If it was not Long Ao, who could it be? After thinking about it, Yi Wushuang still felt that Long Ao was the most suspicious. It was precisely because of this that Yi Wushuang returned and came to the dragon sect for the second time. If it was anything else, Yi Wushuang might have given up. However, the 100 drops of dragon blood were too important. He had spent decades and scammed to finally collect all 100 drops of dragon blood. But in the end, not to mention Yi Wushuang, he believed that no matter who it was, they would not let it go. At this moment, Yi Wushuang could be said to be desperate. His expression turned cold, and a terrifying force suddenly erupted from Yi Wushuang's body, directly pressing down on Long Ao. According to the Dragon Sect's foundation, it was easy to kill Yi Wushuang. After all, Long Baishan's strength was not to be underestimated. However, Long Ao could not do that because even if the patriarch made a move, he was not completely confident that he could kill this person. Chapter 691. Long Ao had never been able to see through Yi Wushuang. This feeling was very strong. It was precisely because of this that Long Ao would not act rashly before he was completely confident. This was because he knew very well that if he could not kill him in one strike, once this person escaped, it would be even more difficult to find an opportunity to get rid of this person in the future. Yi Wushuang should be a titled Great Emperor. However, for some reason, Long Ao had a feeling that Yi Wushuang in front of him was not a titled Great Emperor, but a divine Tao martial artist. Long Ao gritted his teeth and persevered. He did not resist. Gradually, Yi Wushuang began to look surprised because ordinary heavenly saint martial artists would definitely collapse under his powerful aura. However, what about Long Ao? It was as if nothing had happened. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it even if he was beaten to death. The aura of heaven and earth. Long Ao restrained the aura of heaven and earth. From an outsider's point of view, they could not see anything fishy. This way, no matter how Yi Wushuang exerted his strength, Long Ao would be fine. This was the power of the aura of heaven and earth. In the end, Yi Wushuang stopped and did not continue. Although he did not know how the other party did it, Yi Wushuang knew that if he continued to release his aura, it would be useless and there would be no substantive objection. Long Ao, I believe you know very well what 100 drops of dragon blood mean. I spent a whole 30 years to collect them all. Long Ao, if you take them and hand them over, I will remember this favor. It seemed that Yi Wushuang was very nervous about the 100 drops of dragon blood. After all, once he obtained 100 drops of dragon blood, he would be able to successfully refine the divine dragon pill. At that time, it would not be a problem for him to continuously break through. Hope was right in front of him, but it was all for naught. Spreading his hands helplessly, Long Ao sighed and said, Brother Yi, I know how you feel. Anyone would feel that it's a pity to lose 100 drops of dragon blood, but I still say the same thing. I didn't take them, and I don't have the ability. If Brother Yi still doesn't believe me, you can kill me now. I definitely won't fight back. Yi Wushuang stared fixedly at Long Ao in front of him. Suddenly, he attacked. Bang! There was a loud bang. Tong Ling, Er's body flew backward. If Longao hadn't caught her in time, she would have fallen to the ground. Yi Wushuang. Longao finally knew that Yi Wushuang had come with killing intent this time. It seemed like he had underestimated the temptation of 100 drops of dragon blood. He believed that Yi Wushuang would do anything for 100 drops of dragon blood. Longao, you think you can fool me with your cultivation? You and I both know whether or not you took the 100 drops of dragon blood. I'll give you one last chance. As long as you hand over the 100 drops of dragon blood now, I can write off everything that happened before. Otherwise, I'll slaughter the entire dragon sect and leave no one alive. Hearing these words, Longao's face also became extremely gloomy. Looking at Yi Wushuang before him, Longao had a feeling that Yi Wushuang seemed to know the truth at that moment. How did Yi Wushuang find out? Longao didn't know, but he knew that Yi Wushuang had to obtain 100 drops of dragon blood. Longao, it seems like you're still stubborn. Do you really think that a mere titled Great Emperor can stop me? I'll let you see my true strength. Just as he finished speaking, Yi Wushuang suddenly released a terrifying divine Dao aura that directly enveloped the surrounding space. A divine Dao martial artist. As expected, Longao had guessed that Yi Wushuang wasn't a titled Great Emperor at all, but a divine Dao martial artist. Now, it seemed that his guess was right. Yi Wushuang was not only a divine Dao martial artist, but he was also a heavenly god martial artist. Longao could clearly sense that the divine Dao aura emitted from Yi Wushuang's body was almost exactly the same as the ancestor's aura. Was this true? However, the next scene made Yi Wushuang's eyes widen like a bull's. His face was filled with disbelief because the aura he released earlier could not suppress Longao. He originally thought that the divine Dao aura he released would be enough to directly kill Longao just by relying on the divine Dao aura. But in the end, Longao still acted as if nothing had happened. It was as if the divine Dao aura he released was trash. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Tonglinger, what's wrong? Looking at Tonglinger's pale face and body that was on the verge of collapse, Longao was shocked. As if he had guessed something, he immediately turned around and stared at Yi Wushuang in front of him. He asked coldly, "What did you do?" "Ha ha ha, Longao. I have to admit that you really surprised me. No wonder you dared to create the dragon sect. However, I can't tell you clearly that I just planted a formation on this little girl's body. In this world, other than me, no one can save her." A formation had invaded the body? Of course, Longao knew what it meant to have a formation invade the body. Ever since he received his master's inheritance, Longao had been constantly studying the so-called Tao of formations. In the Tao of formations, as long as one could break through to the divine Tao formation master, one could do one thing, and that was to invade the enemy's body. At that time, unless it was the person himself, it would be very difficult to save him. This was also the peak power of a formation. Longao finally found out that not only had Yi Tian broken through to the heavenly god stage, but he had also reached the divine Tao formation stage. A divine Tao formation master. Longao's heart completely turned cold. Of course, he knew what a divine Tao formation master meant. Among the formation masters, a divine Tao formation master stood at the true peak. Array masters were divided into level 1 array masters, level 2 array masters, level 3 array masters, level 4 array masters, level 5 array masters, level 6 array masters, level 8 array masters, and level 9 array masters. Above level 9 formation masters were king-level formation masters, emperor-level formation masters, supreme-level formation masters, and finally peak divine-level formation masters. Longao had never thought that Yi Wushuang could not only become a heavenly god martial artist, but also a divine-level formation master. How could he help his master clean up the sect? Of course, Longao knew what such a powerhouse meant. Yi Wushuang could fight 10 or even 100 divine Dao martial artists of the same level. This was the power of a divine-level formation master. Longao knew even more clearly that Yi Wushuang was only a divine-level formation master, and not a heavenly god martial artist. Then, he could still stop Yi Wushuang. However, now, everything was beyond his understanding. What should he do? Just as Long Ao did not know what to do, and Yi Wushuang was about to make a move, a figure suddenly appeared. The figure was none other than the #1 powerhouse of the dragon sect, Long Ao's ancestor, a heavenly god martial artist who had entered 6 reincarnations, Long Batian. Chapter 692. Who are you? Yi Wushuang, who was about to kill Long Ao, suddenly saw the heavenly god before him. His heart skipped a beat. Although he was not afraid of a heavenly god, it was not a good thing for a heavenly god to interfere at this time. Long Batian. Long Batian? Yi Wushuang's expression changed when he heard Long Batian's name. He was in disbelief. As the saying went, a person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Long Batian was too famous. Long family had shocked the world back then. However, Long Batian was too reckless and was killed by Long family in the end. Everyone in the world knew about that. But now, Long Batian, who had already fallen, was standing right in front of him. What had happened? Could it be a rebirth stage martial artist? Other than that, there was no other explanation. Why would Long Batian appear before him out of nowhere? Yi Wushuang's expression became more serious as he thought about this. The rebirth stage martial artist reputation was enough to intimidate Yi Wushuang. Are you scared? The more Long Batian acted like this, the more uncertain Yi Wushuang was. Was he going to leave just like that? Yi Wushuang was almost certain that the 100 drops of dragon blood were in Long Ao's hands. Although he did not know how Long Ao did it, the truth was right before his eyes. Long Ao, hand over the 100 drops of dragon blood and we'll forget about the grudge between us. Otherwise, you should know the consequences. I'll keep you company anytime. Yi Wushuang sneered when he heard that. In the end, Yi Wushuang left because he was not confident that he could kill Long Batian. If he failed, his life would be in danger. Long Ao was finally relieved when he saw Yi Wushuang's disappearing figure. Although Long Ao was very confident in the ancestor's strength, no matter what, Yi Wushuang was not only a heavenly god martial artist, but also a god-rank formation master. Once the battle started, it was still unknown who would win. Ao, what happened to the girl? Long Ao did not hide anything in the slightest and recounted everything that happened just now in full detail. Long Batian began to examine Tong Ling Er's body, but in the end, he shook his head helplessly. Such a powerful formation. Unless a god-level formation master personally comes, this girl will definitely die. Long Ao already knew this would happen. Without saying anything, Long Ao brought Tong Linger to a secret room and gently placed the little girl's body on a soft bed. Looking at the young girl on the soft couch, Long Ao clenched his fists tightly. He kept warning himself in his heart that no matter what happened, he could not let anything happen to Tong Linger. Otherwise, how would he explain it to Yuan in the future? The Tao of Formations. Long Ao was very clear about one thing. If he wanted to save Tong Linger, he had to use the array formation to undo the array formation in his body. There weren't many god-level array masters in this world. At this time, where would he find a god-level array master? It seemed that everything depended on himself. However, he didn't have much time left, and Tong Ling could die at any time. With no other choice, Long Ao could only find Long Fu and ask directly, Long Fu, do you have a way to temporarily suppress the array formation in the little girl's body? That shouldn't be a problem, but I can only help Master suppress it for 10 days. After 10 days, even I can't do anything. 10 days. With a heavy heart, Long Ao left the dragon seal space and sat quietly in the hall alone. He thought of various ways to save Tong Ling but no matter how he thought about it, he still came up with nothing. Ao, looking at his grandfather who suddenly came in, Long Ao smiled bitterly. In the entire dragon sect, only a few people dared to come in at this time, and Long Haosher was one of them. Looking at his grandson before him, Long Haosher sighed deeply in his heart. Because of Yi Wushuang, he already knew that a god-level formation master was the most powerful existence in the world. Now that his grandson had offended such an existence, trouble would probably come endlessly in the future. Ao, you still haven't thought of a way? Nodding, Long Ao did not hide anything from his grandfather. He told him the truth, Grandfather. I didn't expect Yi Wushuang to be a divine Dao martial artist and a god-level formation master. This time, Tong Ling was attacked by Yi Wushuang in order to save me. I don't know if she's dead or alive. I feel guilty. Longao knew that Tong Ling was almost killed by Yi Wushuang in order to save him. Not to mention Tong Ling's identity, even if it was an ordinary person, Longao would feel guilty. Longao did not blame anyone, nor was he angry at Yi Wushuang. This was because he knew deeply that in this world, everything depended on strength. With strength, one would have status. Without strength, one was trash. In this dog-eat-dog world, there was only one way to better survive and protect his family and brothers. That was the only way, and that was to have strength. Longao knew that his current strength was still far from enough. The Heavenly Saint stage was a long way from the Great Emperor stage and even the Divine Dao martial artist stage. Now that he had completely fallen out with Yi Wushuang, if it was an ordinary person, of course, Longao could ignore it. However, even if the Patriarch was overseeing Yi Wushuang, it would probably be very difficult to block Yi Wushuang's attack. If Yi Wushuang was only a Divine Dao martial artist, he believed that with the Patriarch overseeing him, Yi Wushuang would not dare to act rashly. However, the problem now was that Yi Wushuang was not only a heavenly god martial artist, but also a god-level formation master. Once he used the formation to deal with him, how could he resist? Thinking of this, Longao's expression became more and more solemn. Ao, this matter is very troublesome. Why don't we leave this place and hide temporarily? We can come out when we have enough strength to fight Yi Wushuang. Regarding his grandfather's meaning, Longao naturally knew it clearly. However, Longao was very unwilling because hiding this time was to tell Yi Wushuang that he was afraid of him. However, if he did not hide, not only him, but even his family would be in trouble. If he was alone, he could leave at any time. However, the problem now was that there were countless people behind him. With the dragon sect, he definitely could not leave. Since that was the case, this seemed to be the only way. Grandfather, let's put this matter aside for now. With the Patriarch overseeing the sect, I believe that Yi Wushuang would not dare to come rashly without full confidence. I have to save Tonglinger in 10 days. Otherwise, it will be very troublesome. What should we do? Longao also knew the seriousness of the matter. A heavenly god martial artist with the help of a formation. If his grandson could save her, he believed that he would not be so upset here. Chapter 693. Shaking his head, Longao felt helpless. He was also a formation master, but what was the use? Longao knew that he could not remove the attack of a god-level formation master. What should he do? No matter what, nothing could happen to Tonglinger. Otherwise, he would have to explain it to Yuan, and he would not be able to get over it. Grandfather, we'll do as you say. Everyone will be transferred. Ao, through this incident, I'm going to conduct a strict selection. Longao was very clear about his grandfather's intentions. However, at this moment, Longao did not have the slightest bit of information to care about these things. He left everything to his grandfather while he focused on saving Tonglinger. Next, Longao and Longao could be said to have split into two groups. Longao began to transfer all the disciples of the sect. This time, Longao was prepared to do a thorough cleaning. In other words, he did not want any disciples who were not good, especially those who did not seem loyal. As for Longao, he went into closed-door cultivation and focused on saving Tonglinger. In the secret chamber, Longao carefully checked Tonglinger's body. If it were any other god-level formation master, Tonglinger would definitely die. However, Yi Wushuang's situation was different. After all, Yi Wushuang and Longao had the same master. Regardless of whether Yi Wushuang was a god-level formation master or not, the formation that he cultivated was almost the same as Longao's. Unless Yi Wushuang took a different path and created his own formation path. However, was that possible? Taking a different path and creating one's own formation path sounded extremely easy, but it was extremely difficult to actually do it. After a careful inspection, Longao frowned because he had already found out how many formations had eroded Tonglinger's body. There were a total of 12 formations. The 12 formations were the primary formation, dual chi formation, tripartite formation, 4 extremes formation, 5 elements formation, 6 lights formation, 7 stars formation, 8 trigrams formation, 9 palaces formation, 10 extremes formation, 36 dipper formation, and 72 earth fiend formation. If the 12 array formations were taken out individually, each array formation would not be strong. However, the 12 formations that Yi Wushuang had set up were interconnected. The problem now was that Longao had no idea how Yi Wushuang had set up the 12 formations. That was rather troublesome. At this moment, Longao didn't dare to act rashly. If you were awake, I could ask for your opinion. But now, what should I do? At this moment, Long Fu's silhouette suddenly appeared. Master, I've just checked. There are 12 formations in the little girl's body, and there are a total of 1,000 variations. Although Long Fu did not finish his words, the meaning of his words was very clear. He sighed deeply. Just as Long Fu had said, if he made a single mistake, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was precisely because of this that Longao did not dare to casually make a move. Long Fu, what should I do now? Asking was also pointless because Long Fu could be said to know nothing about the Tao of array formations. Shrugging helplessly, Long Fu said, Master, you know my situation best, so I can't help you with this. However, Master, it's not impossible to save the little girl. What is it? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was overjoyed. Ever since he started dating Long Fu, Longao had a rough understanding of Long Fu's character. Since Long Fu had said those words, there was no doubt that Long Fu definitely had a way to save Tonglinger. Again, no matter what, Tonglinger had ended up in such a state in order to save him. Master, although there are thousands of formations in the little girl's body, and she'll definitely die if she makes a single mistake, I believe that you can check them one by one as long as you have a powerful foundation. If you're lucky, you can save the little girl. So that's how it is. Long Fu's meaning was very simple. This way, the chances were still not high, but Longao knew that having a chance was better than having no chance at all. At the very least, even if there was a 1% chance that he could save Tonglinger, he would not choose to give up. Then what should I do? Very simple. Borrow the power of the spirit. Spirit. Longao let out a long sigh of relief. Ever since he had obtained thousands of divine Tao inheritances, he had given them all away. He was only left with 2 spirits. One was for Yu Yin, and the other was for Aoshue. Previously, due to some reason, he had already lost one of the 2 souls. If he were to lose another one in order to save Tongling, then there would not be much of the 2 souls left. At that time, what would Aoshue and Yu Yin do? Should he not save Tonglinger? On one side was the spirit, and on the other was Tonglinger. How should he choose? If it was an ordinary person, he would definitely choose the spirit and not Tonglinger. The reason was simple. In the eyes of others, divine Tao inheritances were not something that could be compared to anything else. Everyone knew that once one obtained a divine Tao inheritance, even if he could not become a divine Tao warrior, he could at least become a great emperor warrior. What kind of concept was that? If that was the case, who would be so foolish to give up the opportunity to become a martial Tao warrior for a woman? Humans were all selfish. Even if the person had saved you before, there would be 85% of people who would choose to give up and leave behind the divine Tao inheritance. However, Longao was different. There were 2 reasons. First, Tonglinger was Yu Yin's junior sister. Their relationship was there. Second, although Tonglinger was a little wild and willful, Longao still had a good impression of her. Third, Tonglinger was trying to save him. Otherwise, Tonglinger would not be like this. Because of this, Longao did not even think about it. He nodded and took out the remaining spirit inheritance. Master, I will now put the spirit into the little girl's body. I will protect her body. Remember, you only have 3 days. Nodding, Longao was also extremely dignified. 3 days would pass in the blink of an eye under normal circumstances. However, as time passed, Tonglinger would be in more danger. Therefore, no matter what happened, he had to find the changes in the 12 arrays within 3 days. Taking a deep breath, Long Ao said seriously, "Let's begin." Then, Long Fu forced his spirit into Tong Linger's body and his own power followed. This was Long Fu. If it was an ordinary person, would they be able to do this? It was also because of Long Fu that Long Ao was very assured. "Master, you can begin." Nodding, Long Ao first adjusted his breathing so that he would not make any mistakes. At this time, Long Ao forcibly separated his spirit and began to slowly enter Tong Linger's body. The entire secret room was filled with an extremely tense atmosphere. Chapter 694. Dragon Sect. In just 3 days, there was no one left in the Dragon Sect. Ever since the incident with Yi Wushuang, Long Haoshi was very afraid of Yi Wushuang. He could only choose to avoid him instead of fighting him head-on. It had to be said that the current Dragon Sect was on the right track. In just 3 days, everyone could be transferred. It was precisely because of this that Long Haoshi used this transfer to kick all suspicious people out of the sect. In the secret chamber, Long Ao and Long Fu worked together to find the changes in the formation in Tong Linger's body. However, they still could not find any clues. 2 days had passed. In other words, there was only 1 day left. If they could not find the changes in the formation in Tong Linger's body, there was only one outcome for Tong Linger. She would definitely die. Suppressing the anxiety and frustration in his heart, Long Ao continued to devote himself to finding the changes in the formation. "Long Ao, I'm going to tear you into pieces." Looking at the Dragon Sect before him, Yi Wushuang finally made a comeback after 3 days. Yi Wushuang was very afraid of Long Batian. No matter what, Long Baishan's strength and reputation were there. However, this time, Yi Wushuang came prepared. As a god-level formation master, Yi Wushuang's strength could double with the help of formations. Just as Long Ao had guessed, with Yi Wushuang's strength and the Tao of formations, not to mention 1 against 10, even 1 against 100 would not be a problem. Yi Wushuang came with great confidence. But in the end, sensing that there was no one in the Dragon Sect, Yi Wushuang's expression was extremely gloomy. It was as ugly as it could be. Yi Wushuang really could not figure out how the Dragon Sect did it. Ever since he left, he had been monitoring the entire Dragon Sect. The slightest movement would definitely not be able to be hidden from him. However, now, the Dragon Sect could be transferred without anyone noticing. It was really difficult for him to accept. "Long Ao, I'll definitely tear you into pieces." The anger in his heart erupted like a volcano. Yi Wushuang directly released his divine Tao aura. In just a few minutes, Long Ao Peak turned into ruins. In the end, Yi Wushuang left. Long Ao Peak. Looking at the ruins, Long Haoshi was very unwilling. However, he knew very well that the power of a heavenly god was not in existence that the Dragon Sect could contend against. Not to mention the others, even the Patriarch might not be a match for Yi Wushuang. "Father, Yi Wushuang is still a danger. What should we do?" How could Long Haoshi not know about Long Yi's worries? Long Haoshi sighed deeply in his heart. He realized that ever since his grandson rose, everything did not seem to be going smoothly. In the beginning, it was the 6 major sects, the 4 major forces, and the current Yi Wushuang. Since when was this the end? Long Haoshi knew very well that the further his grandson went with the sect, the more trouble and danger there would be. But could he stop Aoer? Wait and see. As long as we don't show up, Yi Wushuang can't do anything to us. At this moment, Long Haoshi and Long Yi both looked towards a certain direction. Their faces were filled with surprise because they knew what had happened. Both of them disappeared at the same time. In the secret chamber, Long Ao looked at Tong Linger in surprise and heaved a long sigh of relief. After 3 days of investigation, he had finally found the changes in the formation that Yi Wushuang had set up and resolved them for the little girl. "Aoer, did you succeed?" Seeing his grandfather and father appear, Long Ao, who was already very weak, held back his tears and nodded. "I was lucky to find it. If Yi Wushuang had upgraded the formation, it wouldn't have been so easy this time." Long Ao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that Yi Wushuang had been careless. If nothing went wrong, Yi Wushuang would not have guessed that he was a formation master. Therefore, when he attacked, It was only 12 small formations that were interlocked. If Yi Wushuang upgraded the 12 formations, it would not be the so-called 1,000 changes. It might even be 10,000 or 10,000 changes. If that was the case, Tong Linger would definitely die, and he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. However, everything was luck. Yi Wushuang's carelessness was his luck. Aoer, you're tired too. You should go rest first. After 3 days of continuous investigation, Longao was indeed tired. He was very relieved to hand Tong Linger over to his grandfather and father. Dusk. Looks like Yi Wushuang won't let this go. Grandfather, from now on, no matter who it is in the sect, don't show your face easily. Longao was not surprised at all when he heard his grandfather say that Yi Wushuang had returned to the dragon sect. This was because he had already guessed that Yi Wushuang would not let this go. Longao admired his grandfather's speed. Yes, I've already given the order. As long as we don't show our faces easily, I believe Yi Wushuang can't do anything to us. Aoer, what do you plan to do next? What should I do? What should I do? After thinking about it, Longao finally decided to comprehend the earth elemental art and the Tao of divination, as well as the so-called Tao of formations. After telling Longao his thoughts, Longao left and prepared to cultivate in seclusion. The matter this time, to Longao, had a great impact. This was because the legendary formation killing people was real. Yi Wushuang relied on the formation to corrode the body of others. As long as it was not a formation master of the same level, the other party would definitely die. The reason why he was able to save Tong Linger this time could be said to be a blessing in disguise. However, based on his understanding of formations, Longao knew that only a god-level formation master could corrode the body of an enemy and kill people invisibly. Formation masters went from level 1 to level 9, then to king level, emperor level, venerable level, and emperor level. It was easier said than done to reach the so-called god level. It was precisely because of this that Longao admired Yi Wushuang very much. This was because his master had said that although Yi Wushuang's talent was very strong, after so many years, he would at most be able to break through to the titled Great Emperor and become a venerable level formation master. But in the end, not only did Yi Wushuang become a heavenly god martial artist, but he had also broken through to become a god-level formation master. To be able to achieve such an achievement with two aspects at the same time, this in itself already showed Yi Wushuang's talent and potential. Longao knew even more clearly that if he wanted to walk the right path, he would have to break through to become a god-level formation master. Only then would he be able to use the formation to corrode the body of others and kill people invisibly. But was that possible? He was very confident in his talent, but Longao also knew his own limits. God knew how long it would take to break through to become a god-level formation master. Therefore, Longao was prepared to take a shortcut. What should he do? At this moment, Tong Linger, who had been unconscious, suddenly woke up. She still seemed very weak, but as a titled Great Emperor, Tong Linger had already adapted in just a few seconds. P.S. Tomorrow's chapter will be updated at 12 o'clock tonight. It will begin on the 15th. Chapter 695. You're awake? Of course, Tong Linger knew what had happened. With a light snort, Tong Linger seemed to be very dissatisfied as she said, I saved you. How are you going to repay me? Hearing these words, Longao could be considered depressed to the extreme. However, that was the case. Regardless of whether he could have blocked it back then, Tong Linger had taken the blow for him without even thinking about it. Just that alone made him feel that he should repay her. How do you want me to repay you? He chuckled. He had to admit that Tong Linger was indeed a great beauty through and through. Even when compared to Yuan, Aoshue, and the others, she was not inferior. If it were an ordinary person, they would not be able to resist such temptation. However, Longao was different. It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. However, there were only two people in Longao's heart. One was Yuan, and the other was Aoshue. Longao, I haven't thought about it yet. I'll let you know when I've thought about it. She was troubled. Longao was most afraid of this because he had no idea what Tong Linger would ask him to do. However, since things had already come to this, Longao could not say anything. He nodded and said, "You've just recovered. Rest well. I'm going into closed-door cultivation for this period of time. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. All right, if you need anything, you can look for my mother. She'll try her best to satisfy you." After thinking about it, Longao could only think of his mother. No matter what, Tong Ling was still a girl. Longao quickly left because he didn't dare to stay any longer. Towards this little girl, he was truly powerless. Looking at the disappearing figure, Tong Linger suddenly laughed. There was a strange expression on her face. Even Tong Linger did not know about it. After returning to the secret chamber, Longao did not continue to dwell on other problems. Instead, he sat down quietly and comprehended the various formation Dao. Longao was very touched when he saw Yi Wushuang's formation attack this time. Therefore, he was prepared to think of all sorts of ways to see if he could do that. Burning Heavens Array. In Longao's mind, he was constantly digesting the Burning Heavens Array. According to his master, Yi Wushuang had only cultivated 90% of the Burning Sky formation. He did not know the last 10% at all. If he could cultivate the so-called Burning Sky formation, would it not mean that even Yi Wushuang might not be his match? Burning Heavens Array Art. Longao devoted himself to the cultivation of the Burning Heavens Array Art. The Dragon Sect's sudden low profile caused the people of the 9 states to be completely depressed. They did not know what the Dragon Sect was trying to do. Could it be that they were trying to trick the 4 major forces again? Previously, the matter of Longao tricking the 4 great influences had almost become a topic that everyone in the 9 continents gossiped about after tea. It was precisely because of this that the Dragon Sect suddenly kept a low profile this time. Everyone thought that the Dragon Sect was trying to play tricks again. Their goal was very simple, and that was to deal with the 4 great influences. As everyone knew, although the 4 major forces had already withdrawn from the 9 regions and hid in the spirit domain of the 9 regions, and during this period of time, both sides had been living in peace, but everyone knew that the grievances between the 4 major forces and Longao had already reached the point where they were like fire and water. If you don't die, I die. If both sides could continue to live in peace like this, even ghosts wouldn't believe it. Not only the others, but even the 4 great influences themselves were in an absolute state of nervousness. Just like that, half a month quietly passed in the blink of an eye. Originally, they thought that the Dragon Sect would make a big move, but what made everyone depressed was that the Dragon Sect did not make the slightest move for half a month. If that was the case, what exactly did the Dragon Sect mean? Others might not know, but after a long period of questioning, the 4 great influences finally knew why the Dragon Sect had suddenly disappeared. A supreme Dao martial artist. The 4 great influences had never thought that the Dragon Sect would actually offend a supreme Dao martial artist. They really did not know what was good for them. Although they were pleasantly surprised, the 4 great influences did not act rashly. If it were the 4 great influences in the past, they would definitely take advantage of the Dragon Sect's disappearance to pursue and occupy the 9 continents. But now, ever since the 4 great influences were severely injured by Longao, the 4 great influences had become exceptionally careful. Unless they were completely confident, the 4 great influences would definitely not act rashly. The most important reason why the 4 great influences did not act was because Longao had offended a supreme Dao martial artist. As the most powerful existence in the world, the 4 great influences knew very well what a supreme Dao martial artist represented. Longao offending a supreme Dao martial artist was simply courting death. As long as they watched the fire from the other side, they could just reap the benefits when the time came. There was no need to waste time. Just like that, the 9 continents remained as calm as before. It did not seem like a storm was brewing because of the Dragon Sect's sudden low profile. Yi Wushuang. Of course, he would not let the matter rest. For the sake of the 100 drops of dragon blood, Yi Wushuang would appear at the Dragon Sect every 3 days. However, the longest time would not exceed an hour. In fact, Yi Wushuang knew very well that since Longao had chosen to leave, it would be very difficult for him to appear at Longao Peak. However, he clearly knew that Yi Wushuang was unwilling to give up. He had painstakingly collected it for so many years, but it just so happened that it had benefited Longao. 100 drops of dragon blood were clearly about to be refined into a divine dragon pill, but in the end, he was tricked. It would be fine if the person who tricked him was a heavenly god martial artist, but the other party was only a mere heavenly saint. How could he be willing to accept this? Standing at the peak of Longao Peak, Yi Wushuang's eyes stared fixedly at the endless void in the distance. After standing there for an unknown period of time, Yi Wushuang suddenly muttered to himself, "Longao, no matter where you are, I will find you." After this time, Yi Wushuang immediately left Tianzhou and did not return to Longao Peak. Even so, Longao still did not lead the dragon sect to appear. In fact, everyone from the dragon sect was at Longao Peak. They were just hiding under Longao Peak. With Long Baishan's aura concealing them, even Yi Wushuang would find it difficult to discover the existence of the dragon sect. Longao Peak, underground. In a secret chamber, Longao sat cross-legged and quietly comprehended the burning sky formation. However, in the end, no matter how hard he tried, he could not reach Yi Wushuang's level. It seemed that he would have to wait until he broke through to become a god-level formation master before he could invade the enemy's body and kill them invisibly. Was he going to give up just like that? Longao knew very well that if he could cultivate such a formation, killing enemies above his level would be a piece of cake. He was unwilling, very unwilling. He knew that it was very difficult, but Longao was still unwilling to give up. In the end, he had no choice but to try the so-called 5-element heaven-devouring technique again. Since the 5-element heaven-devouring technique could be fused with spatial teleportation, doubling the power of spatial teleportation. If the 5-element heaven-devouring technique could be fused with a formation, who knew what the outcome would be? Chapter 696. The 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique. As expected of a supreme cultivation technique from the Chaos Stone Tablet, Longao had a feeling that the power of the 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique was not inferior to the 9 Revolutions Rebirth Technique. That was why Longao devoted himself to fusing the 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique and the formation. One had to admit that Longao's talent and courage were not something that ordinary people could compare to. If it were anyone else, would they dare to do this? They would not dare to do it 100%. In the world, only Longao dared to fuse spatial teleportation with the 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique and formation with the 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique. Sitting quietly on the ground, Longao continued to fuse the 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique and the formation. Immediately after, Longao's face revealed a trace of surprise. Although he was still unable to truly comprehend the 5 Elements Heaven-Swallowing Art and the formation, he was still able to double the might of the formation with the help of the 5 Elements Heaven-Swallowing Art, just like teleportation. However, that was not Longao's request. Longao's meaning was actually very simple. He just wanted to do one thing, and that was, with his current level of array formation, it was simply impossible to do one thing. Only a God-rank formation master could corrode the enemy's body and kill them without leaving a trace. However, Longao wanted to use the 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique to forcefully do it. Appear. The 5 Elements Heaven-Devouring Technique combined metal, wood, water, fire, and earth into a formation. It could use the power of the 5 elements to kill the enemy. In other words, the formation could corrode the enemy's body and kill them without leaving a trace. Longao was overjoyed when he saw the formation appear on the stone wall in front of him. He had done it. He had really done it. If Yi Wushuang and his master found out about this, Longao could not imagine what their expressions would be like. Because under normal circumstances, to be able to do this, unless one was a divine-level array master, but Longao was not. Longao discovered one thing. No matter how hard he tried to practice the 5 Elements Heaven-Swallowing Technique, he couldn't reach the entry level. However, no matter what kind of martial skill it was, it would become exceptionally easy once it was fused with the 5 Elements Heaven-Swallowing Technique. Moreover, its might would double. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it even if he were beaten to death. After half a month of seclusion, Longao finally left the secret room. After some simple sorting, Longao met his parents first. He then looked for his grandfather and asked about the recent happenings in the sect. He was relieved to know that Yi Wushuang had left completely. Although Yi Wushuang has left, no one knows when he'll appear. Therefore, I'm prepared to let the sect hide here. This way, we can accept the inheritance wholeheartedly. What do you think? Longao nodded. He had no objections to his grandfather's arrangement. I'll follow Grandpa's arrangements. By the way, Tong Ling has been looking for you for the past 10 days. It seems like she has something important to tell you. Got it, Grandpa. Longao was really afraid of meeting Tong Li, because this mischievous little girl was too difficult to deal with, especially now. Tong Ling had saved him once. Who knew what conditions she would propose when the time came? However, he had to face what he had to face. Longao had no choice but to look for Tong Ling. Extremely unwilling, Longao went to the back mountain of the dragon sect. Others might be afraid of Yi Wushuang, but Tong Ling was not. As long as Tong Ling was not out of her mind and took the initiative to attack Yi Wushuang, he believed that nothing would happen to her. You're finally willing to come out? Seeing Longao suddenly appear, Tong Ling snorted coldly. Her face was filled with displeasure because she only knew Longao in the entire dragon sect. As for Longao's mother, Mu Lin, Tong Ling had never looked for her. Shrugging helplessly, Longao asked, I heard from Grandpa that you're looking for me for something? May I know what it is? Longao, my request is very simple. I only need you to do one thing for me. What is it? Longao was already prepared. Tong Ling thought about it and said, Come with me to a place and help me look for something. Where? Seeing Tong Ling's serious expression, Longao's heart skipped a beat. The Nether Mansion. There were a total of 4 major forces in the spirit territory of the 9 states. They were the East Royal City, the Long family in the West Rank 3, the Nether Mansion in the south, and the Ethereal Palace in the north. Among the 4 major forces, the most mysterious one was the Nether Mansion. Longao knew very little about the Nether Mansion. If it were not for the Nether Mansion causing trouble for him from time to time, he believed that he would not have noticed the Nether Mansion at all. Among the 4 major forces, the Nether Mansion was too low-key. This time, Tong Ling's request for Longao was very simple. She wanted him to enter the Nether Mansion and look for something. Because of this, Longao was very curious. With Tong Ling's strength, it did not seem difficult for her to enter the Nether Mansion. Even if she encountered a titled Great Emperor of the same level, she could easily take out what she wanted. If that was the case, why did Tong Ling come to him? In the Nether Mansion. Tong Ling, why did you come to me? With your strength, you alone are more than enough. Longao, are you really stupid, or are you pretending to be stupid? Longao was confused by Tong Ling's words. However, he was not stupid. Tong Ling's words had a hidden meaning. Was there something strange about the Nether Mansion? All right, I think you don't know either. Longao, I can tell you now. In the 9 states, among the Nether Mansion, the Imperial City, the Long family, and the Ethereal Palace, the Nether Mansion is the true overlord. It is because there are Divine Realm martial artists in the Nether Mansion. Divine Realm martial artists? Longao, of course, knew what Tong Ling meant. He had never thought that there would be a Divine Realm martial artist in the Nether Mansion. Longao, of course, knew what a Divine Realm martial artist meant. If it was as Tong Ling said, and there were Divine Realm martial artists in the Nether Mansion, then there was no doubt that the Nether Mansion was the strongest among the 4 forces. Is there really a Divine Realm martial artist in the Nether Mansion? Seeing Tong Ling nod her head, Longao was even more speechless because he really couldn't figure out why she still wanted to enter the serene Nether Mansion, since she clearly knew that there was a supreme Dao martial artist holding down the fort. Was she tired of living? What's more, Longao could almost affirm that the force behind Tong Ling was very powerful. If she relied on the strength of her backer, he believed that Tong Ling could easily enter the Nether Mansion without any effort. No matter how he thought about it, Longao still could not figure it out. Therefore, he asked, Tong Ling, why do you want to enter the Nether Mansion? You should know that with our strength, once we are discovered by the Nether Mansion, only death awaits us. Why don't you go and get reinforcements? When the time comes, it will be easy, and we will not have to take the risk. What do you think? Longao absolutely did not want to enter the Nether Mansion, especially when he knew that there was a divine realm martial artist in the Nether Mansion. Chapter 697. She glared at him fiercely. Longao, can you not make me look down on you? I'm just telling the truth. Tong Linger suddenly said helplessly, if I could borrow the power of the sect, I wouldn't have asked for your help this time. Hearing Tong Linger's words, Longao was completely depressed. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what kind of treasure was in the Serene Darkness Mansion that could make Tong Linger ignore the danger and risk her life to enter the Serene Darkness Mansion. Longao, don't worry. As long as we are careful, we will definitely succeed. At this point, Longao knew very well that there was no way out for him. The two didn't enter the Serene Darkness Mansion immediately. Instead, they found a restaurant and ordered a table of dishes. They went straight to the point. Longao asked directly, Tong Linger, I want to know about the Serene Darkness Mansion. Nodding, Tong Linger didn't seem to want to hide anything. She said, Longao, among the four major forces, you can actually ignore the Long family, the Imperial City, and the Ethereal Palace. Although the Long family is a Long family, I believe that you know more about the Long family than I do. Longao was very clear about this point. Long family was divided into 9 levels. From lowest to highest, they were level 9, level 8, level 7, level 6, level 5, level 4, level 3, level 2, and level 1 Long family. Of the 9 levels, only the level 1 Long family could be considered a true Long family. The rest were just subsidiary families of the Long family. Long family had a rule that only level 3 Long family and above could enter the Dragon Valley and become a dragon warrior. However, everyone knew that the Long clan had strict control over the Dragon Valley. Even if it was a rank 3 or rank 2 Long clan, it was extremely difficult for them to casually enter the Dragon Valley. Long family, Longao was very dissatisfied from beginning to end. Tong Linger's meaning was very simple. That was, the rank 3 Long family of the 9 states spirit realm might not be in the eyes of the Long family. Even if he destroyed the rank 3 Long family, it was unknown whether the Long family would act. Longao didn't say anything. He just sat there and listened quietly. Among the 4 major forces, you only need to pay attention to the Nether Mansion. If there are no accidents, only the Nether Mansion will compete with you in the future battle of the 9 provinces. Tell me about the Nether Mansion. I don't know much either. Shrugging helplessly, Tong Ling chuckled and said, the Nether Mansion is very mysterious. Master once told me not to touch the Nether Mansion. Therefore, I only know that there are divine realm martial artists in the Nether Mansion. If the Nether Mansion wants to destroy the other 3 forces, it will be a simple matter. He hardly knew. After hearing Tong Ling's words, Longao's heart moved. Tong Ling's master was Yu Yin's master. If even Hades was so wary of the Nether Mansion, Longao found it hard to imagine just how powerful the Nether Mansion was. Taking a deep breath, Longao said helplessly, the Serene Nether Mansion is so mysterious, and there is a supreme Tao warrior guarding it. Even if you and I are careful, I am afraid it is not possible to find what you want in the Serene Nether Mansion. After thinking about it, Longao still felt that something was wrong. Although Longao was confident in his strength and spatial teleportation, he knew his limits. Tong Ling just said that there were divine realm martial artists in the Nether Mansion. If they were unlucky and were discovered, forget about finding what they wanted. It would be a big problem if they could leave the Nether Mansion alive. Tong Ling glared again and said with dissatisfaction, Longao, don't make me look down on you. The man my senior sister likes can't be so cowardly, right? She used Yu Yin as an excuse. Longao didn't waste any more words. Since Tong Ling had already said so, he had to go. Since that was the case, there was no point in wasting words. Just like that, the two of them didn't say anything else. They just drank and ate quietly. Unknowingly, 2 hours had passed. Nether Mansion, one of the 4 great forces, ruled the 9 states spirit domain's southern region. The Nether Mansion sat in Nether Valley, surrounded by black fog. From afar, it looked as if the valley was swallowed by the black fog. It was a terrifying sight. Longao and Tongling stood far away from Nether Valley, not daring to enter. No matter what, the Nether Mansion was the most mysterious existence among the four major powers. Who knew how many hidden traps there were? It would be a disaster if they were discovered before the two of them entered the Nether Mansion. Longao, what should we do? You're the one who came looking for me. Don't you have a way to enter the Nether Mansion? I don't. I came looking for you to give it a try. If I could, I would have gone in long ago. Why would I come looking for you? Hearing Tonglinger's words, Longao was very helpless. She was really a little girl that made people helpless. Things had already reached this point. Longao clearly knew that regardless of whether he was willing or not, he had to help Tonglinger enter. Furthermore, Longao also wanted to know what Tonglinger wanted to obtain from the serene underworld mansion. As a titled Great Emperor, Tonglinger did not seem to care about ordinary things. But Longao knew it wasn't easy to sneak into Nether Valley. Nether Valley was heavily guarded. How am I supposed to sneak into Hell Valley? Longao, have you figured it out yet? There is a way to sneak in, but it requires you to sacrifice something. I'm afraid you won't be willing. What way? Tonglinger was very curious. She didn't know what method Longao was talking about. This time, she had to succeed in coming to the Serene Hell Mansion. Therefore, Tonglinger had already decided that no matter what method it was, she would agree to it. Try it and you'll know. Before Tonglinger could react, Longao hugged her, giving her a fright. Then, the two vanished from sight, teleporting 3 times in a row. In a few seconds, they were inside Hell Valley without making a sound. Teleportation. In this world, only Longao could do this. As for the others, they were afraid that no one could do this. Inside Nether Valley, looking at the black fog around her, Tonglinger, who was about to open fire, was shocked. She seemed to be in disbelief because she never thought that Longao would really do it. How did Longao do it? From beginning to end, Tonglinger didn't know what happened. She asked curiously, Longao, quickly tell me, how did you do it? Chapter 698. Of course, Longao wouldn't tell Tonglinger about his teleportation ability. Again, teleportation was his biggest secret. Chuckling, Longao looked around. We may be in Hell Valley, but we still need to be careful. Longao doesn't want to talk? If they were outside, Tonglinger wouldn't let it go and would get to the bottom of it. But this was different. No one knew what would happen in the next second in Hell Valley, so Tonglinger nodded. I know. Where is it? I heard that it was placed in Soul Severing Tower by Nether Manor. Soul Severing Tower? Where the hell is that? Looking at the young lady beside him, Longao was completely depressed. This time, he had been tricked by Tonglinger. He originally thought that since Tonglinger was so confident, she would definitely know where this item was. But the result? Tonglinger didn't know, only hearsay. If that was the case, where was he supposed to find Soul Severing Tower? Tonglinger didn't take this matter to heart. She smiled and said, Don't worry, there are countless disciples in the Nether Mansion. As long as we ask any one of them, we'll soon know where the Soul Severing Pavilion is. He didn't say anything. Things had already reached this point. Longao knew that he could only continue. Longao had no choice but to follow Tonglinger as they made their way to Hell Valley. The black fog made it impossible to see one's fingers. The more bizarre the serene Nether Mansion was, the more fearful Longao was. This was because Tonglinger had just said that among the 4 major forces of the 9 states spirit domain, the serene Nether Mansion was the most mysterious and powerful existence. They were only in Hell Valley, not Nether Manor. To put it bluntly, they didn't even know where they were. So how were they supposed to find Soul Severing Tower? The valley was shrouded in black fog, and only a few things could be seen. Just like that, the two were on high alert. Soon, the two of them found the disciples of Nether Mansion. They were Xiantian warriors. For the current Longao, killing 2 Xiantian warriors was a piece of cake. Longao, what are you doing? Give me some time. It was better to rely on oneself than on others. Longao discovered a problem. This Tong Linger in front of him was extremely unreliable. If this continued, his life would be in her hands sooner or later. Because of this, Longao was prepared to do as he wished. Longao's method was simple. It was to refine the souls of two Xiantian realm martial artists into soul slaves. Not only would they know about the Nether Mansion, but they would also be able to conceal their auras. This way, it would be difficult for them to be discovered. It was killing two birds with one stone. Longao naturally wouldn't tell Tong Lin Gu anything about the dragon seal. Not only that, but Longao also wouldn't tell Tong Linger anything about soul servants. No matter how anxious Tong Linger was, Longao always evaded her questions. Moreover, he brought her to an extremely secluded place. The surroundings were still shrouded in black mist, making it impossible to see the surroundings clearly. Who knew what was going on in the surrounding valleys? According to Long Fu's current power, refining two Xiantian martial artists would only take a few minutes. From start to finish, it would only take a few minutes for the refinement to succeed. Longao was pleasantly surprised because the two Xiantian realm martial artists didn't disappoint him. In other words, through the Soul Slave's soul search, he quickly found out where Breaking Soul Pavilion was. I already know where Breaking Soul Pavilion is. You have to follow me closely and don't act rashly. He knew. Tong Linger was very curious after hearing Longao's words, but she chose to believe him. She just didn't know how Longao did it. Tong Linger, who was about to ask, suddenly saw a shadow floating towards her. With his strength, as long as he released a little bit of his aura, he would be able to kill a Xiantian realm soul slave. Longao was startled. Seeing this situation, he hurriedly stopped her, saying, "This is a soul slave. Let him enter your body." At that time, as long as we don't reveal any flaws, I believe the Nether Mansion's people won't be able to discover us. She was skeptical, but still, Tong Linger seemed to trust Longao. Otherwise, a martial artist wouldn't let a soul enter their body so casually. Once the soul entered the body with evil intentions, even a titled Great Emperor would be instantly destroyed. The two soul slaves were merged. Then, the two used some time to merge their thoughts and previous matters, and then merge their auras. In other words, from this moment on, their auras were clearly that of Nether Mansion's disciples, not Longao and Tong Linger. How magical! Longao, how did you do it? Tong Linger was shocked and couldn't help but ask. But would Longao say it? Let's move faster. Although they had successfully refined and merged two Xiantian realm soul slaves, it wasn't a long-term solution. As the saying went, it was better to be safe than sorry. If the two of them were discovered, the consequences would be unimaginable. Tong Linger also knew this, so she didn't continue asking. Just like this, the two of them slowly entered the real Nether Mansion according to the information they received. Through the merging of the soul slaves, the two learned of Nether Mansion's secret. The Hell Valley they were in wasn't the real Nether Mansion, but just a front station. If one didn't know and rashly entered Hell Valley, there wouldn't be any problems in the short run. But in the long run, the black mist would control them and turn them into mindless puppets. Even now, the two were still scared. This was especially true for Tong Linger. She knew very well that if it weren't for Longao's help, she wouldn't have been able to enter the serene underworld mansion smoothly, let alone obtain what she wanted. The two slowly reached the deepest part of Hell Valley. Looking at the waterfall in front of them, they knew that the real Nether Mansion was behind the waterfall. Since things had gotten to this point, the two didn't waste any more words and stepped in. Miraculously, they didn't feel the slightest bit of water when they stepped in. In other words, it looked like a waterfall, but it wasn't. The two were dumbstruck. A valley within a valley. The two never imagined there would be such a natural valley behind Hell Valley. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. Nether Mansion was indeed one of the 4 great powers of the 9 states. It was also the most mysterious and the most powerful existence. Just this point alone made it an existence the other 3 great powers couldn't compare to. P.S. I recommend Yao Ye's masterpiece, Burning Wrath of the Heavens. The other 8 books are Super Ability Student, Dragon Blood Holy Emperor, Beautiful CEO's Super Secretary, Only Among the 3 Realms, primal chaos heavenly emperor, unparalleled heavenly sovereign, boiling dragon blood, heavenly sovereign of martial Tao, and supreme god of war. Chapter 699. Valley Central Valley. In front of them was a huge valley that stretched as far as the eye could see. It was still shrouded in black mist, but it was much dimmer than the valley outside. Longao, should we head to Breaking Soul Tower now? The entire valley was like a city. Both of them knew very well that this was not the headquarters of the Nether Mansion, but the largest city of the Nether Mansion, Valley Central City. Shaking his head, Longao said, "It's not time yet. Let's enter the city first." It's not time yet? Hearing those words, Tong Linger was depressed to the extreme, but she didn't know why. She always wanted to listen to Longao, even if it was wrong. Not only that, following Longao, Tong Linger always had a sense of security. It was an indescribable feeling. The two of them did not head to Breaking Soul Tower immediately. Instead, they entered Valley Central City. It was very prosperous, but there weren't many people. Regarding this, the two of them knew very well. In other words, everyone in the city was a disciple of the Nether Mansion, or the most loyal people of the Nether Mansion. Otherwise, ordinary people would not be able to enter Valley Central City. Although the two of them had fused with the aura of soul slaves, they were still careful. Through the fusion, the two of them knew that the so-called Breaking Soul Tower was a forbidden area of the Nether Mansion. Ordinary people could not even get close to it, let alone enter it. In other words, the two of them who had just fused with the identity of two soul slaves were not qualified to enter Breaking Soul Tower at all. This was also the most troublesome thing for the two of them. Longao, what should we do now? Wait and see. Longao only said 4 simple words. Then, no matter how Tong Linger asked, Longao did not say a word, causing Tong Linger to almost go berserk. Valley Central City. Young master, let's go back. Shut up, you useless thing. Pa! A slap to the face rang out. An extremely impatient young man directly walked towards the restaurant. Everyone who was a simple young man all avoided him. Longao, who was eating, was delighted when he saw this. Intuition told him that the young man walking toward him was definitely not an ordinary person. Longao was waiting for an opportunity. The two soul slaves he had just fused with were useless. They could not get close to Breaking Soul Tower, so how could they enter it? Because of this, Longao had unknowingly waited for 6 hours. If they were not in the Nether Mansion, Tong Linger would have exploded at this moment. What's wrong? Wait for me. Longao. The Happy Red Brothel was the only brothel in Valley Central City. The Happy Red Brothel was only able to operate so smoothly because of the support of the son of the Mansion Master of Nether Mansion, the young Master of Nether Mansion. If it was any other time, Longao might have waited. But now, the situation was completely different. They had to end the battle quickly and not waste a single minute. After all, the longer they stayed in the serene underworld mansion, the more danger they would be in. Longao did not give Wei Batian the slightest chance. He directly killed him and had Long Fu refine him into a soul slave. Only now did Longao know this person's identity. He was unlucky. Longao did not hide anything from Tong Linger and told her what he had done. Tong Linger naturally knew what Longao meant, but she was curious. Because Longao had only killed Wei Batian, how was she going to enter Breaking Soul Tower? Longao could guess what Tong Linger was thinking. He helplessly shook his head and said, I already know this person's identity. He is the Nether Mansion's Mansion Lord's son, Wei Batian. You just need to follow me. Tong Linger angrily glared at him and said, Why didn't you come earlier? You're so boring. Longao was afraid. A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. No one knew what a woman was thinking. Not saying any more nonsense, Longao brought Tong Linger and headed towards the Breaking Soul Tower. Nether Mansion. Breaking Soul Tower was listed as a forbidden area by the Nether Mansion. No one was allowed to take a single step into Breaking Soul Tower. Breaking Soul Tower was a huge tower surrounded by black mist. It was very eerie. Even without entering Breaking Soul Tower, one could feel the terrifying aura of Breaking Soul Tower just by looking at it from afar. Longao and Tong Linger followed behind corpse slave Wei Batian and walked step by step towards Breaking Soul Tower. As soon as they stepped in, they were stopped. However, as the son of the Nether Mansion's mansion lord, it was not difficult for Wei Batian to enter Breaking Soul Tower. Inside Breaking Soul Tower, after stepping into Breaking Soul Tower, Longao grabbed Tong Linger and asked with a grave expression, "What are you doing?" Tong Linger was pleasantly surprised. She laughed mischievously and said, "I came in with great difficulty. Of course, I have to find what I want. Why are you stopping me?" Giving a look, Longao wished that he could kick Tong Ling out with a kick. Before long, the three people arrived at the corner of the Breaking Soul Tower. After confirming it over and over again, Longao heaved a long sigh of relief. "Longao, what is going on? Are you out of your mind? As a titled Great Emperor, can't you sense the slightest bit of aura?" Tong Linger was not a fool. Of course, she knew what Longao meant. She did not dare to release her aura and asked, "Are you saying that someone is here?" "That's right. If I'm not wrong, the other party should be a great emperor from the Nether Mansion. If you act rashly, won't you expose our whereabouts?" "Tong Linger, I can tell you clearly that we are not safe after entering Breaking Soul Tower. Once we are discovered, we will be in trouble." Longao was extremely depressed. As soon as he stepped into Breaking Soul Tower, he had already felt the great emperor aura of Breaking Soul Tower. If it were not for Wei Batian, the two of them would have been discovered by the other party. "Longao, what should we do now?" Looking at the girl in front of him, Longao finally realized one thing. A person's strength had nothing to do with how they were. At the end of the day, Tong Linger was still inexperienced and did not seem to understand anything. "Don't be impatient." Longao gave the order to Wei Batian. However, as if he had thought of something, Longao suddenly asked, "Things have already come to this point. We don't have any way out. However, don't be reckless. I have already sensed it just now. There are at least 2 great sovereign experts in the Breaking Soul Tower. Under normal circumstances, with your strength, there shouldn't be a problem. However, we can't alarm the divine experts." Tong Linger was a titled Great Emperor. It was not difficult for her to kill 2 ordinary Great Emperors. Longao was not very worried about this. Chapter 700. Longao had full confidence in Tong Linger's strength. But the Nether Mansion was different. Not to mention the Nether Emperor of the Nether Mansion. Just the presence of a supreme Dao martial practitioner would be troublesome if discovered. Because of this, Longao had to be careful, thinking of all kinds of solutions. "Longao, I can't tell you this, but seeing that you're not bad, I'll reluctantly tell you." Disdain. Longao felt disdain. Because things had already reached this point, even if Tong Linger didn't say anything, he would find out later. "Longao, I came to the Nether Mansion to find something. This thing may be useless to others, but it's very useful to you." "Me?" Longao was confused. He didn't know what the other party meant, and why would this matter involve him? Yes, legend has it that there is a Nether Blood Sea diagram in the Nether Mansion. If you can get it and put it in the Dragon Sect, even a supreme Dao martial practitioner won't be able to invade the Dragon Sect. His heart skipped a beat. The Nether Blood Sea diagram? For some reason, Longao suddenly thought of the Endless Blood Sea diagram. When he entered the cave with Aoshue, he accidentally obtained the Ghost King sect's ultimate treasure, the Endless Blood Sea diagram. In the end, Longchong merged with it and improved it. But Longao couldn't figure out one thing. If the Nether Blood Sea diagram was so powerful, why didn't the Nether Mansion use it? As if she could see Longao's confusion, Tong Linger chuckled and said, "Of course the Nether Mansion wants to use the Nether Blood Sea diagram to dominate Spirit Realm. Why is that? The reason is simple. First, the Nether Mansion can't dominate Spirit Realm due to some restrictions. Second, I heard that the Nether Blood Sea diagram is forbidden. For so many years, the Nether Mansion has been unable to open the Nether Blood Sea diagram. Therefore, the Nether Mansion sealed the Nether Blood Sea diagram in Soul Breaking Tower. So that's why." Longao didn't know why, but he still felt that there was something fishy about this matter. However, he didn't ask any further. No matter what, The other party was doing this for his own good. If what the other party said was true, that the nether blood sea diagram could help the sect, then no matter how dangerous it was, he would give it a try. All of a sudden, Tong Linger's expression changed and became abnormally serious. She asked, Longao, let me ask you a question now. You must answer truthfully. Do you really love senior sister? Hearing this, Longao was very curious. He didn't know what Tong Linger meant. However, Longao still nodded and replied, I love you, Een, very much. I believe you know a thing or two about the things between us. Let me ask you, in this world, how many people can do this? Thinking of you, Een, Longao missed her even more. After 10 years of persistence, Longao would not forget everything that Yuan had done for him. A woman could destroy the most important thing for him. This in itself was enough to show the feelings that Yuan had for him. It was a little dazed, a little jealous, a little envious. But Tong Linger tried her best not to show it. But her tone was already wrong. With a cold snort, she said, Longao, do you really think that you and senior sister Yuan can be together? Regarding Tong Linger's meaning, how could Longao not know? Yuan's current status was already different. Although he didn't know what kind of existence the sects behind Yuan and Tong Linger were, Longao was sure of one thing, and that was that the sects behind the two of them were definitely one of the top existences in the Sky Martial continent. There were 2 reasons why Longao guessed like this. The first reason was that Yuan's master, Hades, should also be a heavenly god. The second reason was that Yuan had become a sovereign in such a short time. That in itself was a problem. Furthermore, Tong Linger had already become a titled sovereign at such a young age. Just thinking about it was frightening. Could the sect behind Yuan and Tong Linger be the Myriad Beast sect? The Heaven and Earth sect? Or some other superpower? Longao didn't ask, because he knew that if Tong Linger didn't want to say more, it would be useless even if he asked. Do you think that there's no way for us to be together? Longao, it's not that I don't think highly of the two of you, but there's no way for the two of you to be together. If anyone else had said this, Longao would have fallen out with them. However, even so, Longao's expression was very ugly. He didn't continue to dwell on this question. Looking around, he suddenly said, Let's start now. Longao had already glanced around. There were a total of 9 floors in the Broken Soul Tower. They were only on the first floor now. In other words, they didn't know which floor the Nether Blood Sea diagram was on. If they searched floor by floor, who knew how long it would take them to find it? If they were in an ordinary place, it wouldn't matter if they kept searching like this. After all, they had plenty of time. However, the problem now was that they were in the Nether Mansion. They could be discovered by a supreme Dao martial artist at any time. Longao, the move you just used just now, just do it again 9 times. Wait for me here. I'll be back soon. No, we came here together. If we live together. If we die together. If senior sister can do it, I can do it too. Tong Linger didn't know if it was intentional or not, but she said softly, If you don't abandon me, I'll be with you in life and death. Hearing this, Longao's body suddenly trembled. Even if Longao was a fool, he could understand the meaning behind Tong Linger's words. Could it be that Tong Linger liked him? Thinking of this, Longao's body trembled again. Although he had a good impression of Tong Linger, no matter what, his heart only had Aoshue and Yuan. There was no room for a third person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have rejected Longjing back then. Tong Linger, your senior sister and I love each other until death. Longao, do you think I can't do it? I can tell you clearly that if senior sister can do it, I can do it too. If senior sister can't do it, I can still do it. If you don't abandon me, I'll be with you in life and death. Before Longao could speak, Tong Linger continued, Longao, things are out in the open. I don't intend to hide it. I like you. I don't ask to replace senior sister's position. I just hope that you can give me a chance. His head hurt. Longao never thought that Tong Linger would like him. It was too sudden. Longao wasn't even prepared. He didn't know why Tong Linger liked him. I only have Aoshue and Yuan in my heart. Longao's meaning was very clear. He rejected her. There were only 2 people in his heart. One was Yuan, and the other was Aoshue. Other than them, His heart couldn't hold a third person, whether it was Tong Linger or Long Jing. Chapter 701. Long Ao didn't want to hurt Tong Ling no matter what. Tong Ling was still Yu Yin's junior sister. He couldn't accept Tong Ling no matter how he looked at it. Because of this, Long Ao didn't want to dwell on this matter. He said, "Let's talk about this later. The problem now is that we have to obtain the Nether Bloodsea diagram." Since things had reached this stage, Long Ao knew that Tong Ling had come to the serene dark mansion for him. If there wasn't Aoshue and Yuin, Long Ao might have considered it. But now, he already had Aoshue and Yuin. Not to mention Tong Ling he wouldn't consider anyone else. Looking at Long Ao, Tong Ling finally nodded. "Wait here, I'll come find you later." Before Tong Ling could say anything, Long Ao had already left with Wei Batian. Following behind Wei Batian, Long Ao was extremely cautious. He was constantly on guard against any sudden changes in his surroundings. This was because he could clearly sense that there were two great emperors in the Breaking Soul Tower. If they were just great emperor cultivators, Long Ao wouldn't be able to sense them. Tong Ling was still a titled great emperor. Killing a great emperor was something she could do in a matter of minutes. Wei Batian was a corpse demon. As long as they weren't face to face, he wouldn't reveal any flaws. As the forbidden area of the Serene Dark Mansion, the Breaking Soul Tower was forbidden. Ordinary people couldn't enter, but Wei Batian was different. As the son of the Serene Dark Mansion's Mansion Lord, Wei Batian could enter the Breaking Soul Tower as he wished. Even so, Long Ao could clearly sense the two great Emperor cultivators' auras sweeping over him and Wei Batian. They didn't stop for even a second. The Breaking Soul Tower had 9 floors. Long Ao followed Wei Batian and walked around the first floor. It was empty. There was nothing there. Just like that, Long Ao and Wei Batian went up to the second floor. They still didn't find the Nether Bloodsea diagram on the 6th floor. Could it be on the 7th floor? Just as he stepped onto the 7th floor, before Long Ao could react, 2 terrifying auras shot towards him. Spatial teleportation. Unless it was a last resort, Long Ao wasn't willing to use spatial teleportation. However, if he didn't use spatial teleportation, he would definitely be killed by the 2 great emperors. Looking at the figure that had suddenly disappeared, the 2 old men who had just appeared cried out in surprise at the same time. They seemed to be very shocked, because the 2 great emperors had never thought that the other party could not only dodge their joint attack, but also disappear into thin air. "Who are you? Why did you enter the Broken Soul Tower?" Long Ao reappeared and looked at the 2 great emperors in front of him. His heart was heavy, but he didn't summon Tong Linger. Until now, he still couldn't figure out how he was discovered by the 2 great emperors. "Who I am is none of your business. You're very arrogant. It doesn't matter who you are. Since you dared to enter the Broken Soul Tower, you'll definitely die." At this time, the 2 great emperors finally realized that something was wrong. They stared at the young mansion master beside the young man, and their faces became extremely gloomy. "How dare you attack the Nether Mansion?" Since things had come to this point, the 2 of them didn't waste any more time and immediately attacked. They were both great emperors and their strength was obvious, let alone the 2 of them working together. Because of this, the 2 of them were extremely confident. With their combined might, killing a heavenly saint was something that could be done in a matter of minutes. However, what happened next made the 2 great emperors extremely depressed. In a normal battle, Long Ao certainly wouldn't be a match for the 2 of them. However, Long Ao didn't want to fight them head-on. In addition to constantly using spatial teleportation, he also constantly used Wei Batian to block the 2 of them. Although they didn't know what the other party had done to the young master, Wei Boshan's identity was there. Of course, the 2 of them didn't dare to harm Wei Batian. In this way, let alone killing Long Ao, they wouldn't even be able to catch up to the other party. The more it was so, the more frightened they were. They didn't know who the other party was and why he dared to provoke the Nether Mansion. Others might not know, but how could the 2 of them not know how powerful the Nether Mansion was? The 4 major forces seemed to be evenly matched, But the upper echelons of the Nether Mansion knew that the Nether Mansion was the strongest among the four major forces. Even if the other three forces joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for the Nether Mansion. Since that was the case, what exactly gave the other party such great courage, daring to move above the lion's head, pulling a tooth out of the tiger's mouth? The two great emperors desperately chased after Longao, but the speed of spatial teleportation was too fast. The two great emperors simply couldn't catch up with Longao. Just like this, the three of them began to play a game of cat and mouse. The Breaking Soul Tower was listed as a forbidden area of the Nether Mansion. Under normal circumstances, no one would come here. In other words, unless the two great emperors left a call for reinforcements, no one would come here. Spatial teleportation. Long Ao's body appeared behind Wei Batian, and his palm ferociously slapped over. Wei Boshan's body was like a kite with a broken string, shooting towards the two great emperors. His speed was too fast. Before the two great emperors could react, Wei Boshan's body had already slammed into them. The two great emperors didn't dare to resist and forcibly caught Wei Batian. In the end, the two great emperors didn't expect Wei Batian, who was originally on their side, to suddenly attack them. Although Wei Batian was only a puny Xiantian realm cultivator, the two great emperors were caught off guard and were hit by Wei Boshan's palm. One had to admit that a great emperor was still a great emperor. Just based on physical defense alone, Wei Batian wouldn't be able to kill the two great emperors even if he stood still. This was the terror of a great emperor. However, the two great emperors' faces were extremely ugly. Why did Wei Batian attack them? The two great emperors couldn't care less about this situation. They kicked Wei Batian to the ground. However, with just a light kick, Wei Batian was already lying on the ground, unable to get up. It was obvious that he was kicked to death. He was kicked to death by their own kick? The two great emperors were completely dumbfounded as they stared blankly at Wei Batian, who was still lying on the ground. They had controlled their strength very well just now, so it was impossible for them to kill Wei Batian. However, the truth was right in front of them. From the beginning to the end, the two great emperors didn't know what had happened. At this moment, a cold snort sounded. "Boy, you don't have to be so sarcastic. Today, you will die without a doubt." Longao snorted and said, "You killed your young mansion lord. If the mansion lord finds out about this, I wonder how the two of you will explain it?" Hearing this, the two great emperors' faces turned even uglier. Just as the other party had said, if the mansion lord found out about this, they really wouldn't be able to explain it. Chapter 702. The two of them knew very well that although their positions in the serene underworld mansion were not low, they could not be compared to the mansion lord. Since things had come to this point, there was only one solution, and that was to kill this person. Thinking of this, the two of them did not waste any time. As they rushed towards Longao, they released their powerful auras from both sides. Longao was not afraid of the auras released by the two at all. The aura of heaven and earth enveloped Longao from top to bottom. No matter how much aura there was, it was all devoured by Longao. The two great emperors were stunned. They had never seen such a situation before. As great emperors, not to mention teaming up, just the aura they released alone was enough to easily kill a heavenly saint. But the result now? The other party did not seem to care about their auras at all. Even so, the two of them still attacked with all their might. In the blink of an eye, the three of them were fighting again. Longao did not dare to be careless. The wild devouring saber slashed out continuously. With the help of spatial teleportation, Longao's body kept changing. As powerful great emperors, the two of them were very frustrated in this situation. On the 9th floor, Longao did not want to continue fighting with the two of them. He knew very well that if the serene underworld mansion found out about this, he would be in big trouble. Because of this, Longao used spatial teleportation and wild devouring saber to block the two great emperors' attacks while looking around. He wanted to see where the so-called Nether Blood Sea diagram was. One had to know that their main purpose in entering the serene underworld mansion this time was to find the Nether Blood Sea diagram. Longao's speed was very fast. He could only see a trace of his shadow. After circling around the ninth floor 3 times, Longao was very puzzled. There was still no nether blood-sea diagram on the ninth floor. In this way, he had already searched all 9 floors of the Breaking Soul Tower, but he still could not find the nether blood-sea diagram. Could it be that the nether blood-sea diagram was not in the Breaking Soul Tower? As for the nether blood-sea diagram, Longao didn't quite believe it. After all, how could the Nether Mansion casually dispose of such a powerful treasure? If the Nether Blood-Sea diagram was not in the Soul-Breaking Tower, he and Tonglinger would be in big trouble. There were wolves in front and tigers behind. For a moment, Longao also did not know what to do. Was he going to leave just like that? Longao knew very well that if the Nether Blood-Sea diagram wasn't in the Soul-Breaking Tower, then he and Tonglinger had come here for nothing. Take a gamble? If he won the bet and the Nether Blood-Sea diagram was really in the Soul-Severing Tower, then it would be worth it for him to continue staying. If he lost the bet and the Nether Blood-Sea diagram was really not in the Soul-Severing Tower, then it would be nonsense for him to continue staying. To bet or not to bet? For a moment, Longao really didn't know what to do. If he was alone, with Longao's character, he would definitely continue to stay. No matter how great the danger ahead was, he would not hesitate to stay. However, the situation was different now. This time, he had Tonglinger with him. It didn't matter if something happened to him, but he couldn't implicate Tonglinger. Thinking of this, Longao finally decided to leave. However, at this moment, Long Fu's voice sounded. He was overjoyed. Long Fu's help at this time was simply too timely. Without a doubt, Long Fu had instantly found the exact location of the Nether Blood-Sea diagram through his own aura and transmitted a message to Longao. If it weren't for Long Fu, Longao might not be able to find it even if he searched for 100 years, let alone now. With spatial teleportation, Longao didn't need to be afraid of the 2 great emperors. Seeing the young man fly towards the Nether Blood-Sea diagram, the 2 great emperors didn't have the slightest suspicion. This was because other than the 2 of them, there weren't many people in the Nether Mansion who knew the location of the Nether Blood-Sea diagram. The 2 of them were almost certain that the other party wasn't a disciple of the Nether Mansion and had come prepared. Could it be that he really knew? Impossible. The 2 great emperors still couldn't believe it. However, at this moment, Longao arrived in front of the wall and slammed his palm down. Brat, how dare you? Idiots. Longao doubted the 2's intelligence. Things had already reached this point, yet they still dared to say such words. Ignoring the 2, Longao looked at the hidden compartment that had suddenly appeared in front of him. He was pleasantly surprised. It seemed like the Nether Mansion had miscalculated. They had thought that the Nether Blood-Sea diagram would be safe if it was placed in the Breaking Soul Pavilion and guarded by 2 great emperors. But in the end? However, Longao was very clear that he hadn't obtained the Nether Blood-Sea diagram by luck. Firstly, if Tonglinger hadn't brought him here and told him about the Nether Blood-Sea diagram, he wouldn't have known about it. Secondly, if Long Fu hadn't reminded him in time, he wouldn't have found the Nether Blood-Sea diagram. After successfully finding the Nether Blood-Sea diagram, Longao didn't dare to be careless. He quickly turned and left. Since he had successfully obtained the Nether Blood-Sea diagram, Longao naturally wouldn't stay. With the spatial teleportation, Longao left the 9th floor after 3 teleportations. He rushed to the 1st floor at his fastest speed. Tonglinger, who had been waiting bitterly, was pleasantly surprised when she saw the figure that had appeared. Before Tonglinger could say anything, Longao said, "Linger, listen to me now. I will lure the 2 away. You leave this place as fast as you can. No matter what happens, you can't come back. I will return to the sect to find you. Remember." Without giving Tonglinger a chance to ask anything, Longao turned and left. Just as Longao left, the 2 great emperors arrived. With Tonglinger's strength, not to mention hiding, even killing 2 ordinary great emperors would be a piece of cake. However, Tonglinger didn't seem to be able to react at this moment. At this time, the Serene Nether Mansion already knew what had happened in the Broken Soul Tower. In just a short while, countless people had already surrounded the Broken Soul Tower. The Netherworld Emperor suddenly appeared. The 2 great emperors had already told him what had happened. After listening to them, the Netherworld Emperor's face was very gloomy. He never thought that someone would dare to break into the serene Nether Mansion and the Broken Soul Tower. What made him even angrier was that the other party had stolen the Nether Bloodsea diagram. Who knew the secret of the serene Nether Mansion's Broken Soul Tower? No matter how he thought about it, the Netherworld Emperor couldn't figure it out. Could it be one of his own people? As the saying goes, it's hard to guard against a thief in your own home. Who are you? Where is the Nether Bloodsea diagram? Since she had already been discovered, Tong Ling didn't waste any time and directly took out a black token from her bosom. You are. Seeing the black token, the Netherworld Emperor's face completely changed. Chapter 703. Longao was being chased by two great emperors. Longao was very clear in his heart that things had already reached this point. Once he stopped, he would undoubtedly die. Just like that, Longao ran at full speed. Under normal circumstances, Longao's speed wouldn't be a match for two great emperors. However, the situation was different now. With spatial teleportation, it was impossible for the two great emperors to catch up to Longao. However, Longao's luck didn't seem to be good this time. Because there was a cliff in front of him. In front of the cliff, there was a huge rock that reached the sky. There were 3 blood-red words on it that were filled with the aura of death. Nethercliff. Nethercliff was the forbidden area of the Nether Mansion. It was even more forbidden than the Broken Soul Tower. No matter who it was, no one was allowed to step into Nethercliff without the permission of the Mansion Lord. However, all the disciples of the Nether Mansion knew that although Nethercliff was dangerous, it was also a sacred place for cultivation. It could be said that opportunities and dangers coexisted. Even so, countless people wanted to enter Nethercliff to cultivate. There was only one reason for this. If he wanted to survive in the serene underworld mansion, he had to constantly become stronger. If you weren't strong enough, you would be eliminated. If you weren't strong enough, you would be bullied. This was the law of survival for the major forces. Cannibalism was even more obvious in the Nether Mansion. According to legends, many experts in the Nether Mansion, including those who had died, 95% of them cultivated at Nethercliff. They had comprehended something and made a breakthrough. It was also because of this that there would be people applying to the Mansion Master every moment of every day to step into the Nethercliff to cultivate. Opportunity and danger coexisted. If you wanted to gain enlightenment and breakthrough, you had to be prepared to die. That was because 50% of the people who stepped into the Nethercliff would encounter danger. Sometimes, it could even reach 70%. The serene Nether Mansion had a rule about entering the Nethercliff. There were too many disciples in the Nether Mansion. Therefore, the Nether Mansion had a rule that only 100 people could enter Nethercliff to cultivate every day. Once the number was exceeded, even with the Mansion Lord's order, no one could enter. At this moment, on the Underworld Cliff, there were over 100 disciples of the Underworld Mansion. Everyone was quietly cultivating, hoping to make a breakthrough. They didn't want to waste such a rare opportunity. This was the first time Longao had stepped into the Nether Mansion, so he definitely didn't know about the existence of the Nethercliff. Now, Longao only hoped to shake off the two great emperors behind him as soon as possible and leave the Nether Mansion as soon as possible. He knew very well that the longer he stayed, the more danger he would be in. Brat, you can't run. If you surrender, I can spare your life. Once you step into the Nethercliff, you will die without a doubt. At that time, you will die without a burial ground. Seeing that the other party was about to step into the Nethercliff, the two great emperors were pleasantly surprised. Extreme. Once he entered the Nethercliff, then unless he jumped off the cliff, he would have no other way out. The only thing that worried the two of them was that if he really jumped off the cliff, then wouldn't it mean that they would be unable to find the Nether Bloodsea diagram? If they lost the Nether Bloodsea diagram, they would bear the greatest responsibility. Because of this, the two of them naturally hoped to intercept the other party. Once they got the Nether Bloodsea diagram back, the other party's life and death would have nothing to do with them. Longao ignored the two of them. In the blink of an eye, Longao had already stepped into the Nethercliff. Before the surrounding disciples could react, he was already at the edge of the Nethercliff. Looking at the endless void in front of him, Long Ao swallowed his saliva. At the bottom of the nether cliff, black mist lingered, and one couldn't see the bottom. Not to mention jumping down. Just looking at it made one's heart beat wildly. The 100 or so disciples of the nether mansion who were cultivating in silence were suddenly disturbed by Long Ao's sudden appearance. They were all furious. Everyone opened their eyes at the same time. Each and every one of them glared angrily at Long Ao. Just as everyone was about to erupt like a volcano, two figures shot over from not far away and arrived in the blink of an eye. Seeing the two figures, everyone was shocked because everyone knew the identity of the two great emperors. Feeling the cold killing intent released by the two great emperors, everyone was trembling in fear. They didn't know who this young man was. Of all people to provoke, he just had to provoke the two great emperors. He was simply courting death. Who is this person? How dare he provoke the two great emperors? He's really courting death. AI, he's dead. Looks like the nether cliff will have another soul. Everyone was discussing in low voices, and they felt that Long Ao's identity was even better. In the entire nether mansion, there was really no one who dared to provoke the two great emperors. Because of this, everyone really wanted to know who this young man was. Dressed in black, with a head full of blood-red hair and a face full of determination, Long Ao stood at the edge of the nether cliff like a god of war descending. Just as everyone was discussing, Long Ao had already arrived at the edge of the nether cliff. Looking at the black fog in front of him, his heart was heavy to the extreme. The two great emperors didn't pursue him and sneered. "You're running? Aren't you good at running? Brat, I don't care who you are. Trespassing into the Breaking Soul Tower is a crime punishable by death. But seeing that you're not bad, as long as you hand over the Nether Bloodsea diagram, we won't take your life. How about it? Trespassing into the Breaking Soul Tower?" Hearing the two great emperors' words, everyone was shocked. Others might not know, but as disciples of the Nether Mansion, how could they not know about the Breaking Soul Tower? As the forbidden area of the Nether Mansion, no one was allowed to step into the Breaking Soul Tower. This person was obviously not a disciple of the Nether Mansion, but he dared to trespass into the Breaking Soul Tower. They couldn't help but admire his courage. Idiot. Ignoring the two great emperors, Long Ao realized that the two great emperors in front of him were like 3-year-old children. How could they let him go? If they let him go, the Nether Mansion would really be out of their minds. Regardless of whether others believed it or not, he definitely wouldn't believe their nonsense. Two great emperors, I'd like to ask, as elders of the Nether Mansion, if you kill the young mansion master Wei Batian, do you think you're worthy of the Nether Mansion? After refining Wei Batian into a corpse slave, Long Ao knew almost everything about Wei Batian. The two great emperors killed Wei Batian? What was going on? Hearing the other party's words, everyone was completely dumbfounded. No one believed that the two great emperors would kill the young mansion master because it didn't make sense at all. Bullshit. The two great emperors were shocked. This matter could be big or small. If this matter spread out, how would they explain it to the mansion master? Explain it to the Nether Mansion? P.S. Explode at 2 p.m. tomorrow, 15th. 30,000 words guaranteed. Everyone, send me more tickets. We'll continue to explode for the rest of the day. You're awesome. Little 9 is awesome. Wah. Chapter 704. He didn't give them a chance to explain themselves. Long Ao snorted and asked disdainfully, "Do you dare to swear to the heavens that you didn't kill young mansion master Wei Batian?" Swear? Of course, they didn't dare to swear. Until now, the two of them still weren't sure if they were the ones who killed Wei Batian. If it was true, then wouldn't they be slapping their own faces if they really killed Wei Batian? The two of them stuttered. Everyone was shocked. The two of them chose to remain silent. Did the two elders really kill the young mansion master? This was a serious matter. If the two of them really killed the young mansion master, it was equivalent to betraying the serene underworld mansion. Ha ha ha, lad. You don't have to do this. You trespassed the Breaking Soul Tower and killed the young mansion master. Before the two of them could speak, Long Ao continued, "Trash, you dare to do it but don't dare to do it." As soon as Long Ao finished speaking, more than 20 figures appeared. Longao's expression changed abruptly when he saw more than 20 people suddenly appear in front of him. All of them were great emperor martial artists. Among them, there were 2 titled great emperors. The 2 people standing at the front were the Netherworld Great Emperor and the Mansion Master of the Serene Underworld Mansion. Wei Mo's expression was extremely ugly. His most beloved son had been killed. At this moment, Wei Mo was like a volcano erupting. He couldn't wait to tear the other party into pieces. You killed my son? Wei Boshin's father, was also the Mansion Master of the Serene Underworld Mansion. Longao snorted coldly and looked at the 2 great emperors. He sneered and said, Mansion Master Wei, you shouldn't ask me about your son's death. You should ask the 2 beside you. Without giving the 2 of them a chance to explain, Longao continued, what I saw just now was that these 2 so-called elders killed young Master Wei Batian with a single kick. Cut the crap and hand over the Nether Bloodsea diagram. The 2 elders were shocked when they heard this. Mansion Master Wei Mo was right beside them. If the Mansion Master really believed this, they would be in trouble. Wei Mo naturally wouldn't believe Longao's words. Kill. It was a simple word. In Wei Mo's opinion, as long as they killed the other party, the Nether Bloodsea diagram would naturally return. There was no need to waste words. Instead, it was a few great emperors. Among them, there were even 2 titled great emperors. Once they swarmed him, even if Longao had the ability to teleport, he would probably be killed instantly. Regarding this point, Longao knew it clearly. I won't kill you. Do you want the Nether Blood? With a snort, Longao's STT test took to kill him. Seeing the other party suddenly jump down, everyone was somewhat confused. This was not to say that everyone felt sorry for Longao's life, but they were paying attention to the Nether Bloodsea map on Longao's body. Who would dare to go down the cliff? Even a supreme Dao martial artist might not dare to go down. T2. Longao's? Of course, Emperor Wei Mo and the others knew who Longao was. One had to know that during this period of time, the Nether Mansion and Longao had clashed many times, and every time the Nether Mansion failed, this was the first time in history. After being defeated repeatedly, the Netherworld Mansion remembered the name Longao. Old ancestor. Is that person Longao? Until now, Wei Mo still couldn't believe that the person who had just jumped was their enemy, Longao. That fearless and legendary young man who had risen in power in just a few years. Not to mention Wei Mo, even the others couldn't believe it. All of them stared at the Netherworld Emperor, waiting for an answer. I've met Longao once. Although he disguised himself, I can still recognize him. It seems like Longao is here for the Nether Bloodsea diagram. Old ancestor, why did Longao want to take the Nether Bloodsea diagram? There was still one thing that Wei Mo couldn't figure out, and that was the Nether Bloodsea diagram of the Nether Underworld Mansion. Apart from the few of them, no one seemed to know about it. If I'm not mistaken, Longao wants to get the Nether Bloodsea diagram to help the Dragon Sect pass through the crisis. As for how he knows about it, I don't know. The Netherworld Emperor cursed in his heart. Longao had jumped off the cliff with the Nether Bloodsea diagram. Their Netherworld mansion had suffered a great loss. In any case, the matter of Longao's death must be kept a secret. No matter who spreads it, they will be killed without mercy. Hearing the old ancestor's words, everyone was doubtful. They didn't know what the old ancestor meant. After thinking for a while, the Netherworld Emperor said, Longao's existence is enough to deter the other 3 families. Due to some restrictions, we can't eliminate the other 3 families. Therefore, we have to deter them at all times. Understand? Although they understood the surface, they still couldn't understand the deeper meaning. Under the Nether Cliff, black mist lingered around, making it impossible to see the situation around. Longao had already disregarded his life and death when he jumped down. He knew that even if he didn't jump, he would still die in the end. In that case, he might as well fight to the death. In other words, Longao still had a trace of hope in his heart when he jumped down. A painful sound came out of his mouth. Opening his eyes with difficulty, Longao looked around and felt a splitting headache. Waves of pain came from his body. Could it be that I'm already dead? Shaking his head, Longao suddenly understood one thing. If he died, he wouldn't feel any pain. In other words, he didn't die. He didn't die. He was pleasantly surprised. Enduring the waves of pain coming from his body, Longao sat up with difficulty. Black mist lingered around him. Before he could figure out the situation, Longao's face suddenly changed. He found that the surrounding black mist had a kind of soul-eroding power. If he was careless, he would be eroded by 25%. The consequences would be unimaginable. Under the nether cliff? Longao had already seen the 3 words nether cliff. Although he didn't know where the nether cliff was, he was very clear that this place wasn't simple. Just the black mist alone wasn't an ordinary power. Longao immediately deployed an air shield to exclude the surrounding power. He didn't immediately take action. Instead, he quietly cultivated. With the protection of the desolate divine body, Longao did not have the slightest injury at all. In just a few hours, he had almost recovered. At this time, he stood up and looked at the situation around him. This was a boundless black land. He couldn't see what was going on further away. However, Longao was very careful. He didn't dare to be careless because the black mist could erode the soul in his body. If he was eroded, he would fall into eternal damnation. Chapter 705. Longao prepared to leave and see if there was an exit that could allow him to leave. Longao was certain that he was still in the nether mansion. Because of this, he did not know if he was safe. A tiger roar sounded. Suddenly, Long Ming appeared in front of Longao. Long Ming, what are you doing? After communicating, Longao was very surprised because he did not expect Long Ming to want to devour the nameless power around him. However, Longao understood. The black fog around him was the power of darkness that could devour his soul. As the 9-Hell Netherworld Tiger, Long Ming was the nemesis of this power. Devour. At this time, Long Ming had already started to devour the power of darkness around him. Long Ming released the power of darkness and started to devour the power of darkness around him. It was endless and extremely fast. He devoured as much as he could. At this moment, Long Ming was like a bottomless pit, devouring the endless power of darkness around him. Seeing Long Ming devour, Longao did not stop him. Since he had to wait for Long Ming to devour, Longao did not waste time and immediately took out the Nether Bloodseed diagram. The diagram was only the size of a palm, but according to Tong Linger, the Nether Bloodseed diagram in his hand was extremely powerful and could even block the attack of a supreme Dao martial artist. However, for some reason, the Nether Bloodseed diagram had been sealed, and the Nether Mansion could not break the seal. Because of this, Longao's expression gradually became serious. It could be said that the Nether Mansion was the most mysterious and powerful of the 4 forces of the spirit realm of the 9 states. They even had a supreme Dao martial artist. But in the end, the Nether Mansion still could not break the seal of the Nether Bloodseed diagram. Could he do it alone? Looking at the Nether Bloodseed diagram in his hand, Longao unconsciously started to worry about Tong Linger's safety. Under normal circumstances, with Tong Linger's strength as a titled Great Emperor, she did not need to be afraid of anything. However, the problem now was that Tong Linger was in the Nether Mansion and her life was uncertain. Even if he encountered a titled Great Emperor, which was the so-called Great Emperor Weimo and the Netherworld Great Emperor, Longao had full confidence. However, if Tong Linger was unlucky and encountered a supreme Dao martial artist, then what should he do? Tong Linger was in danger because of him. From the beginning to the end, Longao never thought that Tong Linger would actually like him. It was simply inconceivable. If he hadn't heard it with his own ears, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. However, no matter what happened, he would never accept Tong Linger. But even so, he had to ensure Tong Linger's safety. This was a must, and he would do it even if he had to die. Shaking his head, Longao did not continue to dwell on this issue. He knew that if he wanted to save Tong Linger, he had to leave this place first. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. Next, Longao began to carefully study the Nether Bloodseed diagram in his hand. As expected, Longao could clearly sense that the sealing power on the Nether Blood Sea map was very strong. He even had a feeling that the power on it was superior to that of the Patriarch. In other words, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to break the seal. For a map that could not be broken, they had almost lost their lives. Longao kept asking himself in his heart, was it really worth it? Putting the Nether Blood Sea diagram into his bosom, Longao was depressed to the extreme. In the Dragon Seal space, Long Fu, can you sense where this place is? Long Ming was still devouring the power of darkness around him. Who knew how long it would take? It wasn't that Longao couldn't wait, but that he didn't know when this would end. Because of this, Longao was anxious. It was very rare for Longao to panic, but this time, the situation was indeed a little special. Long Fu, of course, knew what his master was worried about. He said, "Master, I've already sensed it. I can only say that I don't know if this is your luck or bad luck." Luck? Bad luck? What did that mean? Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was completely depressed. He didn't know what Long Fu meant. What did he mean by bad luck and good luck? Long Fu, can you speak more clearly? Master, to tell you the truth, there is a primal chaos stone tablet in this place. Although I don't know why the primal chaos stone tablet is here, I do know one thing. Once you devour this primal chaos stone tablet, the consequences will be difficult to predict. Chaos stone tablet? There was a chaos stone tablet here? Others might not know what a chaos stone tablet represented, but how could Longao not know? In the world, there were a total of 12 chaos stone tablets. According to legends, as long as one could obtain one of them, they would become the strongest existence in the world. Even the heavens would want to obtain it. One could imagine how powerful a Chaos Stone tablet was. Not to mention encountering 2 Chaos Stone tablets. Even encountering one and obtaining a Chaos Stone tablet was a great fortune amidst misfortune. From start to finish, Longao had never dreamed that he would be able to obtain a second Chaos Stone tablet. This happiness came too suddenly. Longao didn't seem to be able to react. Master, don't be too optimistic. Why is that? Longao couldn't understand. Since the Chaos Stone tablets were the strongest existences in the world, then if he could obtain 2 of them, wouldn't he become a powerhouse amongst powerhouses? If that was the case, then why not? Master, things aren't as simple as you think. According to legend, there are a total of 12 Chaos Stone tablets. In this world, there was originally only 1 Chaos Stone tablet, but for some unknown reason, 1 Chaos Stone tablet turned into 12 Chaos Stone tablets. What nonsense was this? Longao was completely confused. One moment there was a Chaos Stone tablet, and then there were 12 Chaos Stone tablets. If that was the case, then just how many Chaos Stone tablets were there in this world? Master, let me tell you this. Originally, there was only 1 Chaos Stone tablet in this world, but for some unknown reason, it turned into 12 Chaos Stone tablets and scattered throughout the world. If one were to obtain one of the Chaos Stone tablets and obtain its approval, then that person would be able to achieve the unsurpassed Tao. For example, Master. If it weren't for this, I believe that Master's future would have been bright. What did this mean? If he obtained a second Chaos Stone tablet, then his future wouldn't be bright? This seemed a bit ridiculous. If it were anyone else who said this to Longao, he would definitely not believe them. But the problem was that the person who said this to him was none other than the master of the Dragon Seal space, Long Fu, who had always been helping him. Chapter 706. Master, the reason why there are 12 Chaos Tablets is because their powers don't fuse. What does that mean? He didn't know why, but after hearing Long Fu's words, Longao felt that encountering the other Chaos Tablet wasn't luck, but bad luck. Master, in short, once you swallow the second Chaos Tablet and the powers of the 2 tablets don't fuse, your body will directly explode and your primordial spirit will be destroyed. Hearing this, Longao's heart fiercely throbbed. Body exploding and primordial spirit destroyed. Just these words were enough to explain everything. Longao didn't continue asking about the fusion of the Chaos Tablets. This was because he only knew one thing. and that was that he already had one chaos tablet in his body. He definitely couldn't fuse with the second chaos tablet, otherwise he would die. As if thinking of something, Longao let out a long sigh of relief. Long Fu, even if I encounter the other chaos tablet, as long as I don't fuse with it, it'll be fine, right? Everything was fine. This worry was unnecessary. Could it be that if he didn't want to fuse with the other chaos tablet would shamelessly seek him out? That was simply impossible. Longao roughly understood the chaos tablets. They had spirituality and would automatically recognize a master. In other words, if the chaos tablet took a liking to you, you didn't need to waste any effort. The chaos tablet would directly recognize you as its master. But if the chaos tablet didn't take a liking to you, then no matter how hard you tried, the chaos tablet wouldn't recognize you as its master. Long Fu still had a bitter smile on his face. He helplessly said, "I'm sorry, master, but things aren't as simple as you think." The 12 chaos tablets, although their powers don't fuse, they are still one. Once two chaos tablets meet, no matter what master wants, they will forcefully recognize you as their master. But the problem now is that the powers of the two chaos tablets won't fuse at all. If they both choose to recognize you as their master, then there will be great trouble. As for Long Fu's words, Longao already understood them clearly. In other words, if he encountered the other chaos tablet, he would undoubtedly die. Longao, let's try not to approach the other chaos tablet. It's already too late. What does that mean? Intuition told Longao that Long Fu's words were not good news. As expected. Master, it's already too late. The moment you entered this place, the other primal chaos stone tablet already sensed you. Now, all you need to do is make sure that the two primal chaos stone tablets don't collide. Everything depended on luck. Longao was depressed to the extreme because he never thought that things would develop to this point. It was simply unbelievable. What should he do? Was he really going to leave his life and death in the hands of God? Longao clenched his fists. This was what he hated the most. He suddenly said, "My life is in my own hands and not in the hands of the heavens. I will change my own destiny. At worst, I will swallow both chaos stone tablets together. I don't believe that with my talent and potential, I cannot simultaneously possess both chaos stone tablets. Long Fu, once I'm recognized by the other chaos stone tablet, is there a possibility that I'll simultaneously possess two chaos stone tablets? If that's the case, it'll be even more advantageous for me? If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't ask such a question." Long Fu seemed to be used to this. He nodded and said, "Master, I understand what you mean. What you just said isn't impossible. But as for whether or not it'll succeed, I can't guarantee. But I can guarantee one thing. The main thing is that as long as you can simultaneously fuse both Chaos Stone tablets, then once you completely fuse them, your strength will be limitless in the future." It seemed that there was still a chance. That was good. "Long Fu, tell me the location of the Chaos Stone tablet." After obtaining the location of the Chaos Stone tablet, Long Ao left the Dragon Seal space. Long Ming was still constantly swallowing the surrounding power of darkness. Finally, it stopped. Long Ao looked at the time. He had been swallowing for roughly 16 hours. But compared to the surrounding power of darkness, Long Ming's swallowing was simply a drop in the ocean. Long Ming looked as if he hadn't had enough. Long Ming disappeared. Long Ao didn't continue to linger. He walked into the distance. Long Ao had already decided that he would continue to search for the exit. If the other Chaos Stone tablet didn't move, then everything would be fine. But taking a step back, if the other Chaos Stone tablet really did move, then he would have to go all out. After walking for an unknown period of time, the surrounding power of darkness began to slowly thin out. He could roughly see things dozens of meters away. It didn't matter if he didn't look, but once he did, he was shocked. Mass grave? In the distance, there was a desolate and massive mass grave. There were corpses everywhere. The ground was littered with skeletons. There was a deathly aura all around, giving off an extremely oppressive feeling. The stench of rotting corpses assaulted his senses. Long Ao couldn't help but furrow his brows. Below the underworld cliff was a mass grave. At this moment, squeak, squeak, squeak. Huge black bears were constantly eating the rotting skeletons. It looked extremely horrifying and disgusting. Longao took a glance. The black bears could be said to be a sea of people. They were densely packed. It was mainly because they were besieged. Not to mention a heavenly saint. Even a great emperor would be besieged to death. He let out a long sigh of relief. Although he didn't want to see such a scene, Longao was still content. Because if he didn't make the decision to jump, he would have been torn apart by the great emperors of the Nether Mansion, not to mention admiring the mass grave. Nether graveyard? Looking at the stone tablet in front of him, Longao looked at it curiously. He didn't know who was so stupid as to put up a stone tablet here. Nether Mansion, Nether Cliff, Nether Graveyard. He was speechless. However, Longao didn't dare to underestimate the stone tablet not far away, because there were 4 words written on it. Nether Stone Tablet. It emitted a terrifying power that seemed to be able to penetrate his heart. It was very terrifying. Longao didn't dare to look at it because he could clearly sense that this place was very strange. Because Longao was sure that he was in the Nether Mansion, but he didn't see a single disciple of the Nether Mansion. Not only that, but he also saw the mass grave and countless skeletons. There was also a strange stone tablet. The 4 words on it were like a martial artist that was constantly attacking him. It was too strange. Because of this, Longao became more vigilant. He slowly walked in another direction. At least, he had to avoid the mass grave, the skeletons, and the army of black bears. But at this moment, the skeletons on the ground suddenly moved. One by one, they climbed up. The skeletons were resurrected. Chapter 707. Looking at the scene in front of him, Longao had no idea what was going on. Why were the corpses resurrecting? What was this place? Looking at the resurrected corpses walking towards him, Longao felt a sharp pain in his heart. Everything that had happened was simply too bizarre. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, would he have believed it? Not far away, the corpses on the ground that had long rotted suddenly crawled up one by one, wiping out the black bears that were eating. That's right, wiping them all out, not leaving a single one alive. The strength of the corpses was obviously very strong. As for what level they were at, Longao couldn't sense it for the time being. But at the very least, they wouldn't be lower than the Sciention realm. If there were only 1 or 2, then it would be fine. But the problem now was that the ground was full of corpses. If there weren't millions, then there were at least hundreds of thousands. Even if he could destroy the corpses, was it possible to destroy all the corpses? Before he could destroy all the corpses, he would have already died of exhaustion. Corpses resurrecting, Longao already felt that something was wrong. It seemed that the resurrection of the corpses was completely directed at him. Regardless of whether it was true or not, at this moment, the corpses from all directions were continuously coming towards him. What should he do? Although Longao was already very strong, he had never seen such a situation. As the saying goes, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Without the slightest hesitation, he turned and shot towards the northeast. Out of all directions, only the northeast was not resurrected. It could be considered a glimmer of hope. Longao quickly shot towards the northeast. At this moment, for some unknown reason, all the corpses suddenly let out mournful wails at the same time. The wails overlapped and instantly enveloped the entire Nether graveyard. Longao, who had just taken a step forward, heard the mournful wails. He didn't know why, but he directly felt that his mind was being corroded. He didn't dare to be careless. Longao immediately defended his origin, borrowing the strength of his body to intimidate his mind and soul, preventing the mournful wails from invading his body. It turned out that the mournful wails of the corpses could intimidate one's mind and soul. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been obliterated long ago. But Longao's situation was a bit special. Firstly, Longao's soul had become very powerful after continuously devouring. Secondly, with Long Fu's help, protecting his soul and mind, it would be difficult for the howls to invade his body. The gloomy netherworld graveyard was shrouded in black mist, and it was hazy as waves of a rotten smell suffused the air. Long Ao used all his strength to resist the endless wails coming from all around him. He did not believe that the skeletons could keep wailing. However, he had to admit that the wails of the skeletons were extremely terrifying. Even he had almost been corroded just now. If he had really been corroded, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Why did the corpse suddenly come back to life? Until now, Long Ao still couldn't figure out the answer to this question. Why did the skeletons suddenly come back to life? Was it really because of him? The wails of countless corpses in the surroundings were like sharp swords that constantly attempted to corrode Long Ao's body. The slightest carelessness would cause his mind to be destroyed, and he would lose his life. Long Ao originally thought that the skeletons would at most wail a few times, and when they got tired, they would fall to the ground again. At that time, he would be able to leave. However, Long Ao still underestimated the skeletons. Not only did they not stop wailing, but they also did not fall to the ground. Instead, they continued to shoot towards him. This time, the speed of the countless skeletons was clearly much faster. Long Ao originally left from the northeast direction. However, the current situation was that all directions, including the northeast direction, were occupied by the skeletons. In other words, there was no way for him to leave in all directions. The speed of the countless skeletons slowly increased. The skeletons emitted a cold aura, and pairs of dark red eyes stared at the only living thing in the death mound. The countless skeletons in all directions seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact, they were moving very quickly. In a short while, the skeletons had already surrounded Long Ao. Without a doubt, the countless skeletons had already begun to attack Long Ao. He did not dare to be careless. The blood-sucking broadsword had already appeared in Long Ao's hand, and he slashed out without hesitation. The power of the blood-sucking broadsword was needless to say. Just by fusing with the divine thunder pearl, it already possessed the power of divine thunder, which was the nemesis of the skeletons. However, even so, Long Ao could not fight against the countless skeletons alone. Long Ao knew very well that if he were to be careless, he would be devoured by the countless skeletons. Even if he could resist the attacks of the skeletons, no matter what, his physical strength was still limited. If this continued, who knew when it would come to an end? What should he do? The blood-sucking broadsword in his hand continued to slash out in all directions. Looking from afar, they could not see Long Ao's figure at all, only a blade shadow. They had to admit that Long Ao's strength was really strong. If it was an ordinary heavenly saint, they would at most be able to last 10 moves before being devoured by the countless skeletons, dying without a burial place. While counterattacking the skeletons, Long Ao communicated with Long Fu. For some reason, Long Ao had a feeling that the skeletons that suddenly revived and attacked him seemed to be similar to the corpse demons that Long Fu refined. The reason why Long Ao thought so was not because the skeletons suddenly revived. The reason why Long Ao had this feeling was very simple. The skeletons that were constantly attacking him were also immortal, which was the so-called immortal body. Both the skeletons and corpse demons were immortal. In this way, Long Ao's heart became even more solemn and depressed because this was what he was most worried about. Once the skeletons were immortal, it meant that no matter what he did, he would be devoured by the skeletons sooner or later. In other words, wouldn't he be dead for sure? Long Fu, why are the skeletons also immortal? Long Fu, of course, knew what his master meant and immediately said, "Master, the skeletons around are similar to the corpse demons that I refined. Although the refining method is different, I can be sure that these skeletons are not immortal. In fact, the corpse demons that I refined are not immortal either. It's just that they didn't meet their nemesis. So that's how it is." Long Ao had always thought that the corpse demons that Long Fu refined were immortal. Only now did he know that the corpse demons were not immortal. It was just that they did not meet a powerful force or a force that specialized in restraining the corpse demons. Then do you have a way to restrain the skeletons around us? Long Ao had no way at all because he had never seen such a situation before. That was why he asked Long Fu for help. No matter what, Long Fu had refined corpse demons before and just said that corpse demons and skeletons were similar. Chapter 708.
Yes.
Hearing Long Fu say that there was a way to restrain the corpses, Longao was overjoyed. At this moment, Long Fu's words were like stimulants. What is it? It's very simple. Master, as long as you borrow Long Ming's power, you can destroy the corpses around you. Longao did not care about the origin of the corpses, nor did he care about why the corpses were resurrected. Leaving the dragon seal space, he immediately summoned Long Ming. A tiger roar was heard. The netherworld tiger was the nemesis of the corpses. Moreover, Long Ming had already devoured the surrounding dark force and was getting stronger. As expected, as Long Fu said, Long Ming was indeed the nemesis of the corpses. Long Ming had just appeared and began to devour the corpses around him. Long Ming had a violent temper and was the most ruthless. Not only did he devour, but he also completely crushed the corpses around him. Longao had always thought that the corpses were immortal, but now it seemed that what Long Fu said was true. The corpses were not immortal. It was just that they had not encountered a power that could restrain them. Long Ming was the nemesis of the corpses. In less than an hour, he had already destroyed most of the corpses around him. According to this situation, it would take at most 6 hours to destroy all the corpses around him. Longao could only watch quietly because he could not intervene at all. He did not want to make things worse. Under normal circumstances, the corpses did not have the slightest consciousness, so they could only be ruthlessly devoured by Long Ming. But what Longao did not expect was that after destroying less than 1/3 of the corpses, the remaining 2/3 of the corpses actually began to retreat slowly. This time, the remaining corpses not only did not fall, but they also disappeared. That's right, they just disappeared into thin air. No one knew where they went. Where are the corpses? Looking at the surrounding peaceful mass grave, Longao felt like he was in a dream. Master, everything here should have been done by a supreme Tao expert. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao nodded in agreement. In fact, the matter was already in front of him. If it was not arranged by a supreme Tao expert, how could such a scene happen? Long Fu, could he be a heavenly god? No, wasn't it? Since he was not a heavenly god, could he be an earth god? Or a deity? Among the 5 realms of the divine path, the strongest were the heavenly gods. And at this moment, Long Fu said, Master, this person's strength is very strong. He should be above the heavenly gods. No matter what, Master, don't worry. This person has already fallen. Regarding this point, Longao naturally knew it clearly. If it wasn't for the fact that this person had already fallen, he believed that he wouldn't be here anymore. Even so, the strength of this person could be imagined. Just the fact that he was able to refine these undying corpses was enough to prove his strength. Longao had already guessed that this mysterious martial artist was most likely a powerful supreme Tao martial artist from the Nether Mansion. He did not continue to dwell on this issue. Longao was very clear on one thing, and that was that everything in Mass Grave Mound had nothing to do with him. No matter how strong the other party was, it had nothing to do with him. Without continuing to dwell on this issue, Longao prepared to leave this place. East, south, west, and north. For a moment, he didn't know how to choose. East, south, west, and north. If he chose the wrong direction, it would be very dangerous. Who knew what he would encounter? Closing his eyes, Longao thought for a moment. Suddenly, Longao opened his eyes and looked to the east. He had already decided. East, south, east, west, and north. Whether he lived or died would depend on his luck. He walked toward the east. After walking for an unknown period of time, he arrived at the side of a blood pool. The blood pool was neither big nor small, and it constantly bubbled with blood. A mysterious blood pool. Master, it seems like you and the primal chaos stone tablet are fated. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao's heart stirred. Could this mysterious blood pool be the location of the primal chaos stone tablet? Within the blood pool, countless blood bubbles constantly bubbled, exuding a gloomy coldness. Just at this moment, the scene from before appeared once more. Within the blood pool, blood-red skeletons suddenly walked out. Their dark red eyes emitted waves of cold light. It could even be seen that the skeletons were laughing. What was going on? Having just witnessed the strength of the skeletons, Longao naturally didn't dare to be careless. A crazy killing intent and bloody energy suppressed him. Before Longao could react, it had already penetrated his body and began to corrode his body and soul. Countless blood-red skeletons began to ruthlessly attack Longao. Before Longao could summon Longao, an unparalleled suction force was suddenly emitted from the blood pool. It was like a tornado, ruthlessly sucking in Longao. Resisting with all his strength, Longao dragged his body, not allowing himself to enter the blood pool. Who knew what this blood pool was? If he entered, what would he do if he was refined? But Longao still underestimated the suction force of the blood pool. The tornado-like suction force directly sucked Longao into the blood pool. Pale with fright, Longao didn't know how to deal with it. Just as he stepped into the blood pool, before Longao could resist, the surrounding blood water began to rush towards his body. From all directions, the blood water was like vines. In just a few seconds, they had already tightly wrapped around Longao's body. Longao was covered by the blood water, even being swallowed up. It was as if he couldn't breathe. Being swallowed up by the blood water, Longao felt excruciating pain. He couldn't move at all. It was as if his entire body was being bitten by countless insects, ruthlessly bitten, bite after bite. Regardless of whether he was willing or not, the surrounding blood water entered his body without restraint. It began to attack his internal organs and even his blood vessels. It didn't leave any part of his body untouched. Pain, extreme pain. This kind of pain was not something an ordinary person could endure. If it weren't for the tenacity of Longao's 10 years of perseverance, Longao probably wouldn't have been able to endure this moment. Longao endured the pain and tried to use his strength to leave the blood pool. But he was shocked to find that no matter how much strength he used, it was futile. He couldn't leave the blood pool at all. Being swallowed up by the blood water, Longao seemed to have reached the edge of pain. He couldn't hold on any longer. An irresistible piercing pain ruthlessly stabbed into his soul. Longao instantly fainted from the pain. The surrounding blood water began to rush into his body even more crazily, seeping into every part of his body. At this moment, Longao didn't know what had happened. Anyway, he had already fainted, allowing the surrounding blood water to enter his body. It was unknown whether he was still alive or not. Just like that, Longao's entire body had been swallowed up by the blood water, disappearing without a trace. At this moment, Long Fu's figure suddenly appeared. He looked at the blood pool, especially Longao, with an indescribable expression on his face. Chapter 709. It was unknown whether Long Fu's face was filled with joy or worry. Just as he had guessed, in the end, Longao was still acknowledged by the primal chaos stone tablet. Actually, from start to finish, Long Fu had his own thoughts. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't have been so coincidental as to encounter the blood pool. In other words, the primal chaos stone tablet. Between heaven and earth, there were 12 primal chaos stone tablets. As long as one could obtain one of the primal chaos stone tablets, they could become the strongest martial artist. As for whether or not one could become a powerhouse amongst powerhouses after obtaining 2 primal chaos stone tablets, no one knew. No matter what, no one had ever tried to fuse 2 primal chaos stone tablets together. It could be said that Longao was the first of his kind in history. However, Long Fu didn't know what would happen if Longao fused 2 primal chaos stone tablets together. Would he die? Or would they complement each other? Master, I'm sorry. In order for you to quickly become stronger, I had no choice but to do this. Thinking about it, Long Fu continued to mutter to himself, Master, your luck is the most heaven-defying of all the people I've ever seen. Even Long Fu sighed with emotion. After all, To be able to obtain 2 primal chaos stone tablets at the same time and be acknowledged by both of them. In this world, besides his master, was there anyone else who could do this? Long Fu's figure disappeared. One had to admit that Longao's luck was sometimes too heaven-defying. For some unknown reason, Longao had just encountered a primal chaos stone tablet and was immediately acknowledged by it. Apart from personal reasons, it was also because Longao already had a primal chaos stone tablet. It could be said that their hearts were connected. The primal chaos stone tablet had transformed into 12 primal chaos stone tablets. Although their powers restrained each other, they also attracted each other. Once they attracted each other, they would attack each other. This was the saying that one couldn't see it and couldn't leave it. Within the blood pool, Longao's entire body had been swallowed up by the blood. The surrounding blood rushed into Longao's body and flowed to every part of his body. And at this time, Longao didn't realize that when the blood entered his body, it actually began to slowly condense into a small stone tablet. It was blood red in color and its size was almost the same as the Chaos Stone tablet from before. The only difference was that the aura emitted by the 2 Chaos Stone tablets was slightly different. After an unknown amount of time, the blood in the blood pool had been completely absorbed by Longao. Not a single drop was left.
Yes.
Letting out a painful cry, Longao opened his eyes with difficulty and looked at the deep and big pit around him. In an instant, he remembered what had happened before. Where's the blood? Could it be that he had already absorbed it? At this time, it was unknown what expression Longao had on his face, but it was very interesting. This was because he could clearly sense that within his dantian, besides the stone tablet he had fused with before, there was now another stone tablet. Could this be the so-called second Chaos Stone tablet? Not daring to be the slightest bit careless, Longao immediately entered the dragon seal space. Getting straight to the point, Longao directly asked, Long Fu, is the other stone tablet in my body the so-called second Chaos Stone tablet? Seeing Long Fu nod his head, Longao didn't know if he should be pleasantly surprised or worried. He was pleasantly surprised because he was able to obtain the second most powerful primal Chaos Stone tablet in the world. In addition to the previous primal Chaos Stone tablet, he had a total of 2 primal Chaos Stone tablets. He was worried because once the 2 Chaos Stone tablets collided with each other, if his luck wasn't good, wouldn't he be seeking his own death? Not only would his body explode, but his soul would also be destroyed, never to be reincarnated. Master, for you to be able to obtain 2 Chaos Stone tablets, your luck is simply too good. Long Fu, are the 2 Chaos Steels in my dantian safe and sound now? Longao wasn't an idiot. If the 2 Chaos Stone tablets were to fight, he would have exploded long ago. How could he still be standing here? If this was really the case, then this was an extremely good thing. If he could fuse with both Chaos Stone tablets, then he could definitely become a powerhouse in the future. Master, don't be too optimistic. I've already carefully sensed it. According to legends, the 12 Chaos Stone tablets each have their own supernatural abilities. For example, the Chaos Stone tablet you obtained before was able to comprehend the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art. If I'm not wrong, then this Chaos Stone tablet should represent the power of the 5 elements. In other words, it should be the so-called 5 elements Chaos Stone tablet. 5 elements Chaos Stone tablet? Long Fu, then what is the primal Chaos Stone tablet that I just obtained? I don't know. Unless Master is able to comprehend a cultivation method or martial skill from this Chaos Stone tablet. But I can roughly sense that this Chaos Stone tablet contains a very wild and bloody strength. If it isn't killing, then it is swallowing. As for the specifics, I don't dare to say. Longao didn't say anything. This was because Long Fu had already said that although the 2 Chaos Stone tablets weren't fighting now, that didn't mean they wouldn't fight later. The question now was, once the 2 Chaos Stone tablets began to fight, how should he deal with them? Longao's face was solemn to the extreme. Master, if you successfully pass this trial, then you will be the first person in history to possess 2 Chaos Stone tablets. Helplessly shrugging his shoulders, Longao didn't stay any longer. Although he didn't oppose what Long Fu said, To possess two Chaos Stone tablets at the same time had its advantages and disadvantages. What if he couldn't fuse with both Chaos Stone tablets? After leaving the blood pool, Longao looked around at his surroundings. It was pitch black and he didn't know where this place was, where the exit was, or how long he had to stay here. Without any other choice, Longao could only continue to search for the exit. Luckily, the two Chaos Stone tablets hadn't begun to fight. Instead, one left and one right, they quietly waited within his dantian. But Longao was well aware that the two Chaos Stone tablets were like two poisons. You didn't know when these two poisons would kill you. It was completely impossible to guard against them. You wouldn't even have the chance to resist or prepare. Life and death were completely in the hands of the Chaos Stone tablets. Longao began to search for the exit in all directions. But the area beneath the nether cliff was simply too large. North, south, east, and west were all the same. It was like he was sealed in a black space. Could it be that he wouldn't be able to leave for the rest of his life? What should he do? Longao certainly wouldn't sit here and wait for death. He certainly wouldn't stay here and wait for death. Longao first calmed his emotions. This was because he knew that the more vexed he was, the more he couldn't remain calm. After calming down, Longao began to think about all sorts of things. The Nether Graveyard. According to his and Long Fu's guesses, this place should have been left behind by some master of the Nether Mansion. If so, then he was absolutely certain that there was an exit here. Just where was it? Thinking back and forth, Longao suddenly thought of a place. Could it be there? Chapter 7:10. Longao finally thought of a place. The Nether Graveyard. Apart from the Nether Graveyard and the Blood Pool, the entire space was barren. No matter what, he had to try. If he was lucky and the exit was really in the Nether Graveyard, then he would be considered lucky this time. Returning to the Nether Graveyard. Longao was still cautious and alert because the corpses from before were too terrifying. Who knew if these corpses would suddenly appear and attack him? There were probably tens of thousands of graves. Longao didn't have a headache because he knew that if you were lucky, you also had to put in enough effort. In this world, there was no such thing as a free lunch, and there was no such thing as a free lunch. Just like this, Longao began to search one by one. Spirit Domain of the 9 Prefectures. The matter of Longao trespassing on the soul-severing tower of the Nether Mansion was directly blocked by the Nether Mansion. In other words, no one knew that Longao had jumped into the Nether Cliff. As for what the Nether Mansion meant, only the Nether Mansion knew. The news of Longao's death didn't spread. The Imperial City, Rank 3 Long Family, and Ethereal Palace all thought that Longao was still alive. Just as the Nether Mansion guessed, the 3 major forces were very wary of Longao. As long as they weren't completely confident, the 3 major forces wouldn't dare to act rashly and rashly attack the 9 prefectures. Among the 4 major forces, the Nether Mansion was the strongest. This was something that even the other 3 major forces didn't know. The 4 great powers all thought that the grave of the gods was in the 9 prefectures, so they all wanted to invade the 9 prefectures. Unfortunately, for so many years, the 4 great powers had been fighting both openly and covertly. It was either you die or I die. So after so many years, the 4 great powers still hadn't truly occupied the 9 prefectures. When the Sandpiper and Clam fight, the fisherman benefits. The 4 major forces were very depressed. They fought each other but didn't occupy the 9 prefectures. Instead, they were dominated by a small sect that had just risen up. This was simply unbearable. Longao had died, and the Nether Mansion also didn't attack the 9 prefectures. The Nether Mansion wasn't stupid. If they attacked the 9 prefectures now, wouldn't it be telling the other 3 major forces that there was something wrong with the Nether Mansion? Because of this, the Nether Mansion didn't act rashly. Nether Mansion had its own restrictions. Otherwise, the spirit domain of the 9 prefectures wouldn't be dominated by the 4 major forces. Inside the Nether Mansion, when Tong Linger heard that Longao had jumped into the Netherworld cliff, she was furious to the extreme. If it wasn't for the fact that she was still unable to eliminate the serene underworld mansion due to her own strength, Tonglinger would have already attacked. And the dragon sect would, that way, Longao, that way, dragon sect would, and dragon sect would, dragon as. However, no one had expected that Longao would be discovered by the Nether Mansion and even be hunted down by a great emperor. Tonglinger was filled with regret. She had even entered the Nether Mansion to avenge Longao, but in the end, she returned empty-handed. Just the supreme Tao warriors of the serene Hades Mansion were not people she could contend with. If the sect was willing to help, it would be a piece of cake for her to destroy the serene Hades Mansion. However, the problem was that the sect would not do anything. Otherwise, she would not have to sneak into the serene Hades Mansion. Tonglinger was heartbroken. She blamed Longao's death on herself. It was unknown when it started, but Tonglinger had already started to like Longao. Otherwise, with Tonglinger's character, she would not have said that if he did not leave her, she would stay by his side in life and death. Nether Mansion, at the bottom of the Nether Cliff. Longao looked at the grave in front of him with joy. After a day and night of searching, he finally found the so-called exit. Longao didn't hesitate. He stepped into the grave. Enveloped by light, Longao's body disappeared without a trace. In the next second, Longao appeared in a huge stone room. The layout of the room was very simple. A skeleton sat on a futon at the bottom. Longao didn't need to go over. He could clearly sense that the skeleton was a powerful divine realm cultivator. Could it be this person? Who are you? How dare you trespass into the forbidden area of the Nether Mansion? Longao was not the slightest bit surprised when he heard the skeleton suddenly speak. This was because he had already sensed that although this person had already fallen, his soul had not disappeared. Furthermore, he could also sense that the soul of the skeleton in front of him was already very weak. With his current strength, he could completely deal with this soul. Longao said calmly, I accidentally fell from the Nether Cliff. I believe Senior already knows what happened next. There's no need for me to say more. Longao was very curious. Since this place was set up by this divine realm cultivator, then this divine realm cultivator didn't discover the blood pool? In truth, Longao didn't know that the Chaos Stone Tablet would choose its own master. Just like that sentence, what was yours would always be yours. No matter what, it would still be yours. If it wasn't yours, it would never be yours. It was useless to force it. This divine realm cultivator had obviously discovered the blood pool, but he didn't dare to enter. The reason was simple. Once this divine realm cultivator entered, he would be devoured by the blood pool. But Longao's situation was different. He already had a Chaos Stone Tablet. The Chaos Stone Tablet in the blood pool was very close to Longao. That was why it absorbed the blood and merged with the Chaos Stone Tablet. Whether it was a blessing or a curse was unknown. Longao thought too much. This divine realm cultivator really didn't know what had happened to him. Otherwise, how could he not know that he had merged with the blood pool? You're a disciple of the Nether Mansion? I'm not. Longao naturally wouldn't be so foolish as to tell the divine soul in front of him that he was an enemy of the Nether Mansion. Although he didn't fear them, it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble and smoothly leave the Nether Mansion. He didn't want to complicate matters. Your luck is pretty good. Everyone who fell from the Nether Cliff died. Sigh, you're not a disciple of the Nether Mansion. If you were, that would be great. But I don't have much time left. Do I really have to give up like this? The corpse let out a heavy sigh. Just when Longao didn't know what was going on, the corpse suddenly said, Since you didn't die in a disaster and can find this place, it means that you and I are fated. Boy, are you willing to do me a favor? Senior, I really want to ask, why should I help you? You and I are neither relatives nor friends. Hearing this, the divine realm corpse wasn't angry at all. Instead, it laughed heartily. You're not strong, but you're very arrogant. But I like your character. Boy, to tell you the truth, I don't have many days left. I thought there was no hope, but I didn't expect the heavens to send you down here. As long as you help me, I will repay you. What do you think? Chapter 711. Repay me? Long Ao snorted coldly in his heart. Long Ao was not surprised by such a thing. On the surface, it looked like it was asking for his help, but who knew what it was up to? If he was unlucky and got tricked by it, who would be responsible? That was why Long Ao did not intend to help it. Therefore, Long Ao said directly, "I'm sorry, Senior. I have other matters to attend to, so I can't help you with this." You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Hearing those words, Long Ao's face turned slightly ugly, but he did not flare up. No matter what, this was the other party's territory. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if the other party still had a trump card? Kid, it looks like you're not a friend of the Nether Mansion. In that case, I won't be polite. After thinking for a while, the corpse suddenly smiled and said, "Killing you will still help me with everything." Before Long Ao could react, the corpse suddenly emitted a powerful divine aura. Long Ao instantly left the stone room and returned to the nether graveyard. Not daring to be careless, Long Ao looked around vigilantly. "Kid, I originally wanted to keep you alive and kill you after you finished helping me. Since you want to die so much, I'll fulfill your wish." At this time, corpses rapidly appeared from the countless graves around them. Pairs of dark red eyes emitted a cold murderous intent as they quickly walked towards Long Ao. In just a few seconds, the surrounding skeletons had become a sea of people. It was a dark mass that looked extremely horrifying. At this moment, Long Ao was finally sure that the corpses and graves here were all the corpses of the Divine Realm corpses. Long Ao already knew that corpses were the bane of corpses, so of course he would not do it himself. He directly summoned Long Ming. A tiger's roar resounded, followed by Long Ming's sudden appearance. Long Ming was the bane of corpses. He simply ignored the corpses around him and began a massacre. Long Ming ruthlessly crushed the skeletons around him. He killed one that came, and killed two that came. In just a few minutes, he had already destroyed tens of thousands of skeletons. However, the countless tombs in the surroundings continued to pour out corpses, one after another, seemingly endless. Long Ao's expression was grave as he watched Long Ming shatter the surrounding skeletons. Although Long Ming was the nemesis of corpses, he knew very well that if this continued, not to mention himself, even Yu Ming would be exhausted to death. Precisely because of this matter could not continue on like this. Who knew how many of these skeletons the other party had? If it was really endless, then it would be really troublesome. What should he do? Long Ao didn't have any good ideas. But at this point, Long Ao suddenly stared fixedly at the tomb right in front of him. This was the tomb he had just entered, and the so-called Tao of God's corpse he had seen. Long Ao had an intuition that the corpse in the stone chamber was unable to leave. Otherwise, given the corpse's strength, there was no way it wouldn't know what had happened to him. In other words, the corpse couldn't leave the stone chamber at all. Thinking of this, Long Ao finally let out a sigh of relief. Thinking about it, it seemed that he could only deal with the surrounding corpses before he could think of a way to leave. Originally, Long Ao didn't plan to do anything. After all, Long Ming was the nemesis of corpses. But now that things had reached this point, if he didn't do anything, wouldn't he exhaust Long Ming to death? One man and one tiger joined forces to fight the enemy. What one feared would happen, especially when it didn't come earlier or later. It just had to come at this time. Long Ao was depressed to the extreme because he never imagined that the two Chaos Stone tablets in his Dantian would choose to fight at this time. Long Fu had already said that the Chaos Stone tablets complemented each other, but also restrained each other. He couldn't leave and couldn't see them. Long Ao didn't dare to be careless. He immediately sat down cross-legged and told Long Ming the situation. Long Ao had full confidence that with Long Ming's protection, he would be fine. Long Ao, within his Dantian, the 5-element Chaos Stone tablet and the newly obtained Chaos Stone tablet began to attack each other. As the strongest existences in the world, the two Chaos Stone tablets fought to the death. But Long Ao was the one who suffered. Long Fu, what should I do now? Long Ao was worried to the extreme. The Chaos Stone tablets were really fighting, and he was like a fish caught in the crossfire. He was really unlucky to the extreme. However, Longao was very clear about one thing. That was that if he failed in this battle of primal chaos tablets, he would die without a grave. If he succeeded, then he would be the first person to possess 2 primal chaos tablets at the same time. Fail? Succeed? Although he didn't want to believe in luck, Longao knew that some things really depended on luck. As for fate, Longao didn't believe in the so-called heavenly Tao. It was still the same sentence. His fate was his own. Even if the 2 Chaos Stone tablets were to fight, he would still turn the situation around. Master, according to what I said, you just have to wait and see. Whether you win or lose depends on luck. But I know that you won't sit still and wait for death. Wait and see? What a joke. This was a matter of life and death. How could he wait and see? Master, you can use the 9 cycles reincarnation technique and your own sacred desolation physique to try your best to harmonize the 2 chaos stone steels and temporarily separate them. Although you can't completely control the root of the problem, as long as the 2 chaos stone steels don't collide, you will be safe. The 9 revolutions reincarnation technique and the so-called desolate saint physique. Since he had already found a way to deal with the 2 chaos stone tablets, Longao naturally wouldn't hesitate. Longao immediately circulated the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique. The unique power instantly flowed through his body and slowly entered his dantian. According to what Long Fu said, he shouldn't rush in. If he did, he would be attacked by the 2 chaos stone tablets. At that time, even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. It was precisely because of this that Longao used the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique to slowly enter his dantian. Not only that, but Longao also used the desolate saint physique to the maximum, even to the extreme. According to what Long Fu said, the 12 chaos stone tablets had been sealed for some reason. Otherwise, who could refine 12 chaos stone tablets? Longao found it hard to imagine that the sealed chaos stone tablets might be so powerful. If the chaos stone tablets were at their peak, it was hard to imagine how powerful they would be. Bit by bit, the power entered his dantian and slowly separated the 2 chaos stone tablets. But even so, the 2 chaos stone tablets continued to attack each other. Gradually, Longao's forehead began to sweat. If this continued, wouldn't he die without a doubt? So, he had to separate the 2 Chaos Stone tablets as quickly as possible. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.